All right, give Chris a couple more minutes here. Would like to have the secretary. That would be helpful. Otherwise, we might have to have somebody be acting secretary in the meeting.
The notes that you take are just the general Robert's Rules of Order secretary notes, right? Nothing beyond that?
Yeah, more so. I mean, the notes are important. More so, it would be nice to have somebody to help with votes and roll call, at least for the immediate time being. But simple
Yeah, no,
notes that people know what happened. Doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Yeah.
Just looking for the copy of the agenda because that'll give you a framework.
Yeah.
I assume you were asking because you were volunteering.
Yeah, I'm volunteering. I've never done it before, so this will be rough, but I read the book on Robert's Rules of Order, so I know how this works in theory. However useful that was.
It sounds like I played a doctor on TV.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I tell people. Like, I play whatever on the internet.
I was that character in D&D.
Okay, I need to turn off my phone. People are messaging me.
He pasted a copy of it.
It was in the drive. Also, how do you get to the results of forms? I think this might be a problem with website access, but I cannot see anyone, or maybe you're just not supposed to.
Are you on the WordPress?
Sort of. I'm on the WordPress, but then Jim was trying to correct my permissions and set me to a preset that removed 2/3 of my permissions. And then had to like manually go through and toggle more stuff, but I don't think everything's been toggled, and so maybe.
Gotcha.
Which is a very helpful answer, I know.
Is everybody else?
Also, Brianna,
Yes.
Drake, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I thought it was earlier. I would have.
Internet.
This the internet.
We'll play a real
Literature
person on the
count.
TV, yeah.
I mean, that's the way we know it.
That's
True.
honestly true.
It's nice to meet people face to face, but
That's
yeah.
what convention is awesome.
My
Yeah.
family's like, how do you know all these people? And I'm like, Facebook.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, that's the honest answer, as crazy as it sounds.
See, I've taken the hard stance of Facebook is just going to make my life worse. For I no longer join libertarian groups. Or I think I'm still in like 3, and I'm just going to leave them.
700.
Yeah, no, I literally went through and removed myself from every single group I was part of. And then I wanted to cull through my friend list, and that was not going to happen. I realized that if I spent 10 seconds for each removal, this would take me like 9 hours because I have like 2,500 friends, and just like, not worth it.
The last time I left Facebook was in 2016. It was right after the election. For 2 years I was off. And I went through for 30 days and I deleted everything I was in, every post I have ever made, everything so there was nothing but a shell when I left.
Okay, Dustin, I am ready to badly take notes. So as long as you're okay with things going a little bit slower than normal.
That's fine. You'll want to get a list of the members up because I'm about to ask you for a roll here very soon. So that'd be the first heads up.
I am doing that as fast as I can. I'm used to much bigger monitors. Give me 1 sec to get to the LPO website. I'll be fine.
Was there a particular form you wanted the information from? Because I can go get that for you.
I don't even remember at this point. I'll ask you afterwards, actually. You just remind me. Sorry.
And while he's doing that, if you guys that are on site could do me a favor, it sounds like Drake is very close to the mic, but I can't hear Miss Gilson nearly as much.
Okay, I'm gonna move it.
Right into the middle, yeah. I thought that black square, fuzzy black square might have been the mic. All right, cool. That makes a lot of sense.
Say something. Does that work better?
I hear you a lot better now, yes. Which means
It is
I
a
assume I'll
boundary microphone, so the side that has the cord is gonna reject more sound. So if you get it just pointed towards the group of you sat on the end of the head table there, it's probably easier.
I'm loud, so you'll be fine. This is with me. Okay, so it's not making-
Could any of you possibly provide me with the Wi-Fi password? Does anyone know it?
It used to be on the whiteboard there. I don't want to say it over the live feed, but it used to be on the whiteboard there around the corner.
Yeah, the
It's not on the
whiteboard
board.
says
I'll send it to you
contact
via
IT.
chat.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So for call to order, do I just write that in while present? Okay. I have the list of the XCOM up and ready. Do I need the list of directors also?
No, just voting members for these purposes.
Okay.
All right,
So
so I'm
then-
going to call this to order at 10:11 a.m. Mr. Acting Secretary, if you would take the roll, please.
Sure. Jim Cavoli. Not present, or yeah. I'm gonna call you not present. Jim's not staying. I think that's the correct decision. Not sure. Dustin Nana.
Here.
John. I always forget to pronounce his name. Moeller. That's a no. Christopher Gill, also a no. Derek Strello. Yep, that's a yes. Drake Lundstrom, present, and Derek Tafe.
Present.
It is Tafe, right?
You got it.
I'm getting names better than usual today. That is the roll call, Mr. Acting Chair.
Thank you.
You
So by my
have-
count, we have 5 of 7 here. 4.5, because Jim's going to be in and out, essentially.
Yeah, but even with 4, we have quorum.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. All right, any conflicts of interest to be disclosed? All right.
I'm also the vice chair of the Franklin County Party, which I don't.
Oh, I don't-
I forgot that's not supposed to be. That
I
doesn't
would
even
hope
be
that's
there.
not a conflict of interest, but I appreciate you disclosing it.
I never
Um,
remember if it's supposed to declare that or not.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Some people consider that a conflict, some people don't. I don't think it is. I think we're all working towards the same goals, so. I have none to report. I'm not hearing any from anybody else. So we'll move to approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Seconded.
Okay. I heard a motion and a second. Is there any dissent? Does anybody not approve of the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. All right, so that takes us to business conducted between meetings. The only thing we did in between last meeting and this meeting was approve the 2022 budget. And if there's no discussion about that, we can just keep right on rolling. Does anybody have anything to say?
Glad that it went well.
Yes, me too. All right, hearing no substantial discussion, we'll move on to officer reports, activity updates, and comments. We'll start with officer reports. I assume Jim does not have a chair report, but if he's here and wants to give a small report, he's more than welcome to right now. Does not sound like he has one. I do not have too much to report from the office of the vice chair. Most of the stuff I'm going to talk about will come later on in B, G, and F. The secretary is not here, and the treasurer is not here. So that's that. All right, LNC regional.
Do you take an at-large report?
What's that? We typically don't, since at-large is not an officer. But if you want to say something, you're more than welcome to.
It can be shoehorned into finance director, so I'll just leave it for there.
All right, cool. Sounds great. So LNC regional and national update. As you guys may or may not be aware, there continues to be drama, particularly confined to the northeast part of the country, and that the LNC has been deliberating on. We had a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, but it got canceled. We are waiting on the JC's decision on the motion that we passed regarding Delaware. It doesn't appear that they're in any hurry to issue a ruling on that one. So we're kind of in a holding pattern before we do anything else or discuss any other actions or recommendations for any other states. We don't want to make a decision and then be into another JC appeal about the exact same thing that the JC is already talking about right now. Long story short, unfortunately, I assume that there will be multiple states at national whose either show up with 2 delegations or whose delegations are under or are being questioned by the body. So we'll see how that shakes out. Thankfully, none of the states are big that this is gonna happen with, at least so far. So I guess that's the silver lining. But we'll see what happens when the national convention rolls around. That's pretty much all that's going on the LNC right now. We passed our budget a while ago, so we're pretty much done until next term, unless something crazy comes up. So that's all I really got from LNC. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. All right, hearing none, that'll take us to political division.
One question, Dustin. Do you have any update on that, the vote for the National Committee to direct the credentialing committee on how to vote?
I don't believe that everybody has cast a vote yet. If you want me to, I can go in and count heads and tell you what the count is currently.
I want to say yes, but I don't want to slow down the meeting too much, just because it seems like
It shouldn't take long.
it seems like a fairly important marker. Cause that would change how the conventions are run in the future. If the LNC can just decide to force a body of the convention to do credentialing a specific way.
So, let's see. It is 2 to 1.
Can you go over what the controversy is and how far
Sure.
apart?
So the LNC fielded some complaints about an action that the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts and the Libertarian Party of Delaware essentially removed members from their roles, and it was debated on whether or not that was proper. It definitely looks, at least in my opinion, less proper when it happened in Delaware. It looks like it might have been slightly more legitimate, but not much in Massachusetts, in my opinion. But essentially, in Delaware, they just decided they didn't like the people that were going to be kicked out, so they just kicked them out. In Massachusetts, situation was so they have a process for holding a special convention, and it requires petitioning. And 46 or 47 people signed this petition to hold a special convention, and the Massachusetts party kicked everybody out that signed the petition to hold a special convention. So we fielded complaints about that, and then we had a meeting about both, the Delaware one being longer ago, the Massachusetts one being more recent. like I said, we were set to have a second meeting about Massachusetts tomorrow, but that got canceled by members because we don't want to take the action we took in Delaware again in Massachusetts and be stuck in a JC appeal again without this one being resolved. With the Delaware situation, we basically told them, hey, here's what we recommend you do. Please figure it out on your own. I assume any motion regarding Massachusetts specifically would have been the same. The current motion that's pending that Mr. Lundstrom asked about, basically it asks the credentials committee, specifically the LNC appointees, to vote to get from the report the initial credentialed list of delegates from Delaware and Massachusetts, so that the body of the convention can make the decision on whether or not they want to seat those members. It's highly likely, I would say almost certain, that if they are put in the credentials report to begin with, without being omitted to begin with, that the convention body is going to motion to divide the report and do this anyhow. At least that's my feeling. So I guess those of us that have voted yes on this motion see it as more so a time-saving measure than anything, because it doesn't actually prevent these people from being delegates. It just says, hey, this is what's going on, and it'll allow the credentials committee to report that on the floor that, hey, this is what's happening. You guys can either accept this delegate group or the other delegate group, or not accept the delegate group at all if it's only one delegate group that gets sent. It leaves it up to the body, which it ultimately is anyhow. The body of the convention will be the ones to make this final decision, regardless of what the credentials committee says. So that's the gist of what's happening right now. Like I said, if you guys want me to go count votes, I can. I'm in the thread right now. It's pretty close right now, but I think it's going to pass. It's going to be very close.
I want to ask, is it okay to ask a question about your opinion and kind of about what this motion means?
Sure.
So my understanding is that this wasn't advice to the credentialing committee, but this was an order of the people that we appoint have to do this, and there was even talk about removing people if they don't vote this way. So it is essentially the LNC controlling one of the child committees of the convention itself, which
I don't read it that way. I would not vote personally to kick anybody off the committee because they didn't vote a way that we wanted. Even if it was somehow made to have teeth, the only people we would be able to remove from the committee would be those that we appointed. Any of the appointees that come from the states, obviously we don't get to control that. I don't.
Yeah, but it's still you can.
I don't see it as forcing them to vote. There's a second motion that has some softer language, that is for sure just a recommendation. But it's not. It does not have the requisite co-sponsors yet. I imagine if this motion fails, that it will probably get the requisite co-sponsors, and we'll end up voting on that one.
Okay.
But I can't see a situation where we remove members from the credentials committee because they didn't vote a certain way. And the way I vote, the reason I voted yes, and the way I read the motion, it's a suggestion to our members. We're instructing them to vote this way because of certain circumstances. I don't see it as us forcing them to vote a certain way. And if it came down to it, I would not vote to pull anybody off the committee because they voted against this instruction.
Okay.
So I think there's virtually no chance that happens.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then, like I said, if you want me to tell you where it stands right now, I can.
No, I mean, if it's not the motion that I've heard it potentially being, then it's fine, seems reasonable. I was just worried that
I would
it,
also say it's
precedent.
poorly worded. Yeah, no, it is poorly worded, in my opinion. The word instruct should have been recommend.
Yeah, no, then that would have been no issue at all.
Correct, yeah. But I don't, like I said, I don't see, the consequences of it not being changed from instruct to recommend mattering all that much because I, myself, and several other people I know will not vote, who are voting yes on this motion, will not vote to pull people off this committee. So there's virtually no chance that that happens.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, I appreciate it. If anybody else wants me to clarify anything else that's going on right now, I'm more than happy to. Otherwise, we can keep going and move into communications. Or actually, I'm sorry, I skipped political. Move into political. I'm not hearing anything, so we will
I
roll.
believe Kevin is out of town.
Okay. I don't know if he submitted a written or not. I have not checked in the last couple of days. But unless anybody else has anything that they would like to highlight from political or anything substantial to mention, we can just roll right on through.
I'll pull up everything would be in the meeting notes for this month, correct?
Would be in the drive under.
Under the
under
executive
this.
committee meeting notes for this meeting.
Yeah, it should be in the same folder.
Okay. Yeah, I see a treasurer's report and a finance division report and an agenda, and that's it. So it doesn't seem to be a political report.
Okay, no worries then. We'll move on to communications, and I know our communications director is present, so we should be able to hear something from that.
Okay, I'll keep this super brief. I've been building team infrastructure so far. I created a separate forum on the WordPress specifically for the communications department, not to detract volunteers from the regular volunteer forum, but just to get more specifics as to what they are able to do. So I have 5 people who filled that out so far, all of which still need emails and to be set up on the CRM and to get into Rocket Chat and stuff like that. But I got a small handful of people so far. I haven't exactly divvied up what they're going to be doing yet, but I'd like to start meeting with them and have that discussion. What else? I've also been building a document which I can share with y'all. It would be great if I had access to add publications on the CRM, but I created a document for basically the layout of the communications division and the different roles that I'm looking to fill and the purpose of those roles, essentially. Let's see, what else? I have created an LPO Discord server. Nobody is in that yet until we find people that are capable of moderating it. But I think that having a Discord server would help drive more volunteers into LPO, especially one that we will eventually publicly put on the website if everyone, can be amenable to that. I think that's just a great way of accumulating volunteers and having different forms of social media. We already have Jimmy doing everything else, but I'd like to bring more people into the fold so that we have more consistent content and more original content coming out of the state party. And in terms of content, I'd also like to have the team design some new LPO literature at some point, which I'm not sure if that exactly falls under communications, but graphics kind of flows in that direction. But that's just something I have tabled. What else? And I did take it upon myself to reach out to a few college campus chapters that I found on the LP website, 2 of which did respond to me. And I was just asking, if they need anything and things like that. I think college chapters are also a great way to get volunteers, especially people that are proficient in the communications area. And yeah, I've been talking to those 2 campus outreach people, and I have yet to further set up meetings with them. But 2 so far, which is pretty cool. And I believe that's all I have to report at the moment.
I'm gonna make sure I got all of that down.
Sorry, that was a lot.
So create a volunteer form website communications department. 5 people have applied, still in onboarding process, need access. Created a document, CRM, something, that's about where I lost track. So
Oh,
you
okay.
created an organizational structure document?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly that.
Created org.
And I don't have access to add publications on the CRM. I mean, I'm not sure that has to go there, but I figure so that everyone else can see it as well. So I'm not just sharing the link in my Google Drive to everyone. It'd be easy to
So
put in there.
the
You don't
main-
have access to your communication folder on the drive?
Oh, I do have the folder. I don't know why I thought I should put it in publications.
No, that'd be
my
main
bad.
place to share. Okay.
Gotcha.
So create an org document, comma, not yet published
So,
in Drive.
In publications, there's a distinction between what's viewable publicly.
Yeah.
So if you want it to be viewed publicly by
Mhm.
random people that go to the website, that's a different thing. So
Yeah.
that's where you would put it if
Okay.
you do want it.
Either way, I don't have access to add publications anyway.
Yeah.
So
And then interested in creating a Discord server for the state, to drive volunteers.
yeah, and I made the server. I just have not invited
Yep.
anyone. Just
Then
exists
In
cyberspace.
terms of content, teams interested in designing new LPO literature, and then reached out to college chapters, see if they need support or interested in volunteering.
Yeah.
All of it. Sweet.
Pretty much. Yep.
And then do we just move to public comment on reports, or with questions on reports? Hey Dustin, are we allowed to ask questions after reports, right? Pretty sure that's
Yes.
the case. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
have a couple of questions and comments. For the Discord server, I know historically we've been using the Rocket Chat as similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's not a replacement.
Yeah, well, it's more the issue that I've seen
Mhm.
is, because I have sort of a national server that lots of LPO people are in, and having the Rocket Chat and Discord means that people will only be active on one, and they randomly pick which one.
Perhaps. I mean, I think that's a discussion that we
Yeah.
can have. But I'm just very open to the idea of having as many platforms as possible because different people have different preferences to what platforms they want to use.
No, that makes sense. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
I get that.
My experience getting volunteers is like, well, now I have them on this guy in Discord, and that guy's there, and that guy's
But
there.
the
They're not
odds
coming
the
together.
odds are that most people already have Discord and not Rocket Chat.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Rocket Chat is an official thing, and you have to be a member to be in it, so
Oh,
there's a difference there.
So if you
Yeah.
want to be broader reach and like bring in, if you want to have someone volunteering with your group that's not really libertarian but is with us on criminal justice,
Right.
you want them on Discord, not on Rocket Chat. Yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, no, so that seems reasonable. For team LPO literature, I agree, and that's to show you how little divisions relate to the finance division is planning on working on new LPO literature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Remember my report last time about the state, no county affiliate has RAT cards. And I think part of the finance division would be funding them for RAT cards. So I want to have good RAT cards, which means I'm going to make them because the ones from national suck.
National is working on some too, so be careful you don't spend money you don't have to.
It was just I was going to go in and make something and see what people thought and then just iterate that way. But if national is anything good, I'm happy to take it. I don't care where it comes from. I
Right.
just want good RAT cards.
I understand that.
Not
The I'm a CCW instructor, and I'll tell you the Second Amendment card stinks. I don't like it.
So in terms of that, I would like to have a marketing team within the communications division or department, whatever, which will eventually be doing graphic design because a lot of graphic design is for like social media and online stuff anyway, so that still falls under comms. It's not really hard to just have the same people doing the physical literature and things like that.
That makes sense. And the only thing I'd also want you to know is Jim has a set of graphics and design stuff
Okay.
set up for every single county. So he has like a county specific logo for every county.
Yeah.
It exists somewhere. I don't know where. We also, the LPO merch store is a print on demand service. So any design we throw up there doesn't cost us money in inventory. So
Yeah.
if we want to have every county has their own mug,
Mhm.
it's
That might become a
volunteer
bit
hours.
much on the LPO store,
Counties
but
have
yeah,
asked me for it, so.
it's not a bad idea.
You know who you should go to for that is the company that came to our last conference and had their cups, because they make
Oh,
a
yeah.
different mug for each state LPO.
Yeah, Well, I mean, is there like a minimum number of inventory or startup or something for that where?
If it's on our store, there's nothing.
Yeah, well, our stores, that's all set up through just one service that does all the print on demand together. I'm lazy, so I want to do the minimum amount of work necessary to get it up there. My understanding is that is sending the company we currently use the image.
So the Ohio image that company created is a rock star porcupine because of the rock
so
and
we
roll.
can purchase the image from them or something.
They already gave me it.
Oh,
They,
okay, never
for free.
mind.
They said,
I have
yes,
not
please
seen this
use
image.
it.
Okay, then I'm going to create quick notes about people's questions on vision reports, I guess so. Then I'm just going to go up there are media images created for branding that can be shared with the communication division. Fast typer. Okay. So, and then, I'm sorry, I just had your report. For the college campus chapters, have you been reaching out to just the Libertarian specific ones, or
Yes.
reaching out to like y'all?
I've only reached out to the Libertarian specific ones.
I know that it varies by chapter.
For y'all, yeah.
Yeah, but at least in Ohio, we've had a few really good ones.
Yeah, I think that's also just a bigger project right now. I
Yeah.
just,
Yep.
I wanted to see which ones were active at least on the LP website.
And I believe that somewhere there's a list of volunteers that Dustin had about people who would be interested in going and speaking to colleges, giving the opportunities. Like there's a,
Okay.
if you get a college group that is interested in stuff, I know that one of the most common volunteer activities I hear people say they want to do is go in and speak about this stuff.
Mhm.
So when you reach out to them, if you need support, there are lots of people willing to provide support.
Mhm.
Is my only comment on that. So it's
Awesome.
good job. You have allies helping you when you need it. That's all my questions on communication division report. Anyone else has some?
As far as the volunteers, I was gonna mention this as part of a separate discussion, but since we're already talking about it, we have a volunteer that recently contacted us from Cuyahoga that's a college student that wants to intern with the LPO. So we need to find someone that will be agreeable to make that commitment over a period of time to, maintain communication with their counselor and all the documentation that goes with an internship, if you've ever done that type of work. So
What would be the
What are they wanting to do?
goal of an intern?
let me pull up the form. I've done a couple, one with LPO specifically and one with a campaign, and they generally do well. He says, I'm a current first-year law student enrolled at Cleveland Marshall School of Law and a member of the Libertarian Party. I am contacting to inquire about any possible internships that might be available with the Libertarian Party of Ohio. If not, what law firm represents the Libertarian Party of Ohio that might have legal internships available this summer? I'm aware this is quite a long shot, but given liberty is the utmost importance to me, Libertarian Party seems like the best place to inquire. So I don't know if he's just looking for, he may be looking for a paid internship. I don't know if he realizes that's not going to be us.
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
So
If he wants an unpaid internship, though,
Ha ha
and I
ha.
know that he's a law student, there's like 3 or 4 things that I'd be happy to have someone helping us clean up the sample legislation to give the city councils for decrim and stuff.
Dustin, if you're willing to contact him to clarify if he's looking for paid or not.
Yeah, Send his
Um,
information. That's
If,
I'm
if
more than
he's looking
happy.
for paid, we can't really help him. Maybe you can put him in touch with Chris Weiss.
Yeah, Chris is actually a Republican now. But
That sucks.
we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I know, well, I guess actually, the Libertarian I know in a law firm is a student still, so, well, he's the very junior partner, but I know at least one.
How about Erica Burwell too?
Yes, she would probably be a good one. I don't know the nature of what she does if she's available to take an intern, but I'm sure that if she is, she would like to have the help.
Right. I forwarded it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just came
I
in
like helping
yesterday.
people, I'm just not sure how much paperwork it would be. Like,
I don't have any questions about communications, but I just want to say thank you. I think you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
actually, have you sent out where people should apply for the volunteer?
I have not made that public yet. I only did it maybe like a week ago.
Okay.
And I've just been forwarding it to a few people that I happen to know in Ohio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to do that.
Okay.
I mentioned in Rocket Chat that I wanted to send out a mass email telling people, that the communications team is looking for people, yada, 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 yada.
Do you know about LPO in the know?
I've heard of it. I don't know
Okay.
what it is or what it
I will
does.
show you when we're done. I'll show you
Is it like a
past
newsletter?
issues. It should be going out every month.
Okay.
And
Is it a
would-
physical newsletter?
No, it's
okay.
there's a template, and you just
Okay.
put what news from the counties and all that.
Gotcha.
So you would put a link to your thing for communications. In it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I've listed volunteers I'd send it out to that I think a couple people would be interested in it. I know like managing county social media and stuff.
Mhm.
Want a bigger field to play in. So I'm gonna make that as my request that volunteer.
Yeah, I believe the link is just comms-volunteer. Let me double check. I made it very simple so I could remember it.
/com stuff.
Yeah, -volunteer. Yeah. I can send a link in Rocket Chat though,
One
but
M or
2 M's.
yeah, I'd request Rocket Chat. I don't know
Yeah.
things. I don't think it knows.
It's pretty simple.
All right. Anything else for comms? Anything you want to mention or any other questions?
I don't believe I have any at the moment.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good. Like I said, thank you so much. Sounds like you're working on a lot of stuff. That's always good to hear. So having said that, we will move on to finance.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Finance division report. Actually, a number of people weren't here for last month. Some of this is going to be continuation, so I'll just go through. Finance division report to the LPO. It is on the drive if you are interested in looking at it. Membership program update. Let's see. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong report. That's the wrong month. There's heading. Okay. So the CRM is currently out of date, so we don't really know what the membership is. Unfortunately, let's see, events, no new events since the 2021 conference, which next upcoming event is obviously the convention. The conference did raise $2,000 in net, which is nice. Dustin, what was the, I don't have any idea what the plan was for the lifetime donor dinner, if that was still in progress or if that happened.
It did not.
I was not part of planning it. The short story is that COVID messed up our plans, and that it's still something we would like to do, but is not currently being actively planned for.
Okay, then under the current projects, these are all the ones that we talked about last time. So the referral links for donors is kind of like kickback if you get someone to sign up to be an LPO member or donate. The proposal was made, but it still need to kind of talk to the IT division to figure out how to integrate that into the website and CRM. It's kind of been the stopping point for that. Finding a paid fundraiser. I have not made any progress on that yet. If anyone else knows where to find a professional fundraiser to pay on commission, and I know that we are offering a more generous commission than is standard, which, well,
We had one
yes.
from Warren County. And he was a professional fundraiser for the Wild Turkey Federation or something like that. Very pro 2A guy,
Yeah.
had connections with firearms manufacturer companies, and was willing to come to Columbus and talk to the previous chair. And Harold and Homer said we didn't need him.
If I
He
get his
has
contact
contacts
information,
all over the state.
if I can get his contact information,
Yeah.
I do need him. And we were offering very unusually generous numbers, and
The caveat was he had a family situation with a health situation that he had a child that they were looking for healthcare.
Yeah.
So that may be something that is a stop.
that makes sense. Sorry.
Let me see if I can find him in my contacts.
Sorry about that. Okay. So county growth stuff, so the last time I put 4 proposals in, which were that referral links for pretty much anyone, including counties, getting a paid fundraiser, then kind of providing some training to help the counties, especially because if they would get a kickback for any money they raise, then we'll teach them how to raise money for us and give them kickbacks. And then final one for county support, which would essentially be that we would print a bunch of rack cards and even maybe like provide a way to get branded tables and tablecloths or stuff like those, and then subsidize it from the state. So depending on the item, we became usually about half, and then making sure that everyone has consistent branding with the 4 projects. So that's what we're giving updates on. The county growth, obviously, until the referral links are set up, then we can't really do that part of it. Some counties have reached out about the current donation sharing system, which does exist, which is some percentage of any dues from that county. However, since the CRM is out of date, it's not really working, because if you're in Warren County and you've had 30 members join since June, and the CRM is up to date as of March last year, that's not really helpful.
So how do you get it updated?
I need to have website access so I can see the list of donations that come in. Then I'm going to manually enter every single one of those donations in the CRM. I know. But I want it up to date,
My
and it's
IT
not
brain is
right.
breaking right now.
I'm not sure if there's an option for this, but you could probably export them as a spreadsheet and then import them. I don't know how the CRM works.
I need to reference the data on the donation form does not contain county, so I need to manually look at the county for each of them.
Or we can just add county to that form.
Yes, but that
Which
would
I've
still
asked
miss.
him to do.
Yes, and I agree. This
Okay.
is why I want to have an IT director. Or this is why I want to have more IT people, which Warren County has also provided among other counties. But yes, but I was not able to do that because my access got changed and I could not access it. So that is not the right solution, but counties are asking for help, and I'm willing to be a Band-Aid in between, but right now I can't, and I would like access. So, but yeah, so they've asked for the current funding, which is less than it will eventually be if my proposal goes through, but they cannot get that through the CRM being out of date. Then other county support. So the RAC cards have not been designed yet, although it does sound like National may have good ones, which would be a little surprising, but hey, I'll take it. Or if not, we can still go
We may
through
not
and
have them, but they're working.
Yeah, but good ones is the part I'm more surprised would be surprised about. And then the sponsored gear initiative stuff has not been broadcasted publicly yet, which perhaps might be a thing of us to work together. I'll show you what the ones I was looking at. And just the goal of that is, hey, everyone should have uniform, professional-looking stuff. And then counties have requested training for the fundraising and the CRM specifically. Also, I don't even know how to articulate the request about the CRM. It's more of a that it should work like other CRMs work. Maybe is the best way to phrase that request. And kind of my tentative proposal for this, I believe there were a set of trainings made previously when Jennifer Flower was in charge, that there was some monthly training meetings happening. And I believe there was some material from it. I know we didn't have any counties at the time, so it was all kind of weird. I would be happy to restart at least some of these. I don't know the answers to this stuff, but I have a paid Zoom account and I can set up a room and bring in the people who do know and do a panel discussion. We can just do an hour and a half on this is how fundraising has worked in the past and how it'll hopefully work for you. Ask all your questions, record that, put a nice little bow on it, and then we have that sent out in the future. Maybe go through fundraising, membership drive, anything else. I know I've done a couple of those, although those are within internally done within the Mises caucus and then shared to other people if they want them. But it's kind of would rather have something that is Ohio official and not caucus affiliated because it's for Ohio. So, yeah. I know that's not entirely within the role of financial director. The one about teaching people how to fundraise is, the rest really wouldn't be, but it's kind of that is a thought. I don't know we have any county support division right now. Do we have one?
Wouldn't that fall under political?
That falls under me
Okay.
as far as getting them affiliated.
Yeah.
Not, there used to be a whole division called the field division. Dustin, do you remember why it was eliminated? Because it's really a pain that we don't have that.
The political one is more like legislation.
Okay.
I believe, and I honestly, I could be wrong. It's been a while. I believe the intention was to split the duties out underneath different divisions. And I believe the argument was that there was a redundant division because we had at the time a regional liaison who was supposed to help with that.
Oh yeah, we had the
And,
5 regional people that no longer really exist.
You're right, and we were supposed to finance was supposed to help them do financial stuff, and communications was supposed to help with communication stuff, and it at the time was felt that it was redundant. It is on the agenda to talk about later on.
Okay.
Consider reviving it. So
The 5 regionals still exist, but they were supposed to report to the vice chair. And like Dustin said, all the other divisions were supposed to help the affiliates get going and remain going without having a separate development director, because we got rid of county development groups. That's what that other division really did, was they tried to spin up counties with county development. We don't have those anymore. You get 3 people together, follow the process, and become an affiliate. It used to be a lot harder.
yes, correct. And we're going to talk about this later, so I don't want to dive into it too deep because there is a specific section on the agenda.
Okay, no, that makes sense. But that would be my request as finance division is I am happy to figure out who knows how to do this, since I'm not an expert, and to host a training and just kind of broadcast that. I know that Helen has an updated list of all who are currently county officials, that we can just reach out to them, pull them in, give an open forum, panel Q&A, and just save it. And if that format works, would be happy to continue it for other non-financial activities. It's not
Makes sense.
okay.
Anything else from finance?
No, just CRM questions and new business.
Let's wait because IT is next. I'd like to keep
Okay.
all the IT discussion under IT if possible. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. We might be
That
here all
makes-
day.
No, I don't
Um,
want to stay here all day, so I'll stop talking.
Okay. No, if you have anything else to say, no worries. And then I don't really have any questions. Like I said earlier, it sounds like you've got a good plan of action similar to communications. We just gotta help you execute it.
Okay. And I got my notes down, so we're ready to move on to ID Vision if there are no other questions.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions for finance? Not hearing any. So we will move on to IT. I assume there will be a good bit of discussion here. I don't think Jim is still on the call, so we won't have his input, unfortunately. But this, I've heard from several people now, a lot of different people, that we really need to have a serious discussion about whether or not we want to move over to the national CRM or whether we want to stay here. And just in general, what we will need to do with IT. I know we talked earlier that there are several people queued up and ready to go to help with the division, regardless of what we do, I assume. So now would be the time, in the absence of a report, in the absence of a director, to talk about that, and maybe Derek can shed a little light on it since he does the AV stuff. But honestly, to my knowledge, mostly the AV's position is more of a hands-on, labor-intensive position that just helps set things up at events. So,
Yeah,
now would be the time.
I really don't have
Go
any
ahead.
access to IT except the stuff that Jim gave me to maybe help with membership and stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to do any of it. So
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest thing with the current setup is that neither do I. We have several people who we have onboarded recently, including the two directors that are sitting at a table next to each other that don't have the access that they currently need. We have heard that the finance division is waiting on a CRM dump and may have to manually update all of the donation information, which is, an issue
To
in
be-
and of itself.
To be
So-
fair, I think that's the way they've always done that,
Yep,
Dustin. It's
that
not
is.
that they're waiting on something to happen.
No, I'm waiting on access. Once I have access, then this is the process it's always been, is you manually go into the website, look at the records of donations, and then manually type it into the CRM.
Which is insane.
Yes, you're not wrong.
So if it's okay, I have something I would like to say about IT.
Sure.
It kind of goes along with something else that I had to say on the agenda, but here we are. And I really wish Jim was here because I prefer transparency and, like no cloak and dagger drama stuff in Ohio ever. But I certainly, as much as anyone, understand life happens. And I think that it's important that if it happens, that we are open and say it out loud to each other and we support each other when life happens. But we have to say it. And I think if Jim is unable to perform the duties of chair or IT because he's wearing both hats, that he needs to say that. I can't do it right now. I'm taking a leave of absence or whatever, and Dustin hears the gavel, make things happen while I can't.
You get hit by a bus before everything falls apart. Right now, Jim is the only person that has access to everything. If Jim vanished tomorrow, we would lose all the website, all the CRM, everything.
Somewhat. I have I have elevated permissions to
Yes.
a lot of it.
No, people
But
have
I don't
like
have
some elevated
everything.
permissions, and also I believe you're not working in IT, like, or actually I don't know what you do.
I am an IT.
Oh, you are. I lose track. Of
I
who's
am a
IT person.
developer.
Okay, no, okay, no, I get mixed up with who's job. I forget that half of Ohio, because I'm also an IT person. Like, if more IT people had access, if we had someone else with, even if we just had someone else with director permissions, like the website was down for a week, and because Jim couldn't be contacted, it was some tiny bug that couldn't be fixed, or like apparently the county's page doesn't exist right now.
Your county?
No, if you go to the LPO.org, hit the counties button, it redirects you to nothing, and the page doesn't seem to exist.
Yes,
Um,
it's being updated.
okay, but I think that it makes sense to, if nothing else, have more people able to do this. Like, I completely agree. It's not that Jim's been doing a bad job, it's just that he's been given a job that's not possible to do. And that if you're putting out fires, you can't onboard people. We have, and at least 2 people willing to do IT work, and 1 person in Warren is willing to do CRM work, and they really care about Warren and not about IT generally. They'll work with, like, they'll do stuff for our CRM generally just to make Warren work better.
Actually, if I could speak up on that.
I'll nominate Joshua to speak.
Okay.
Mark. I'm so
That's
bad
all
at
right.
names.
It's all right. You haven't seen much of me, but yeah, really, what Phil is willing to do is he's willing to take on CRM for the state, because he sees things like what you were discussing earlier about the information that you have to go and manually download. He works CRM for a living, first of all, and yes, it's true he's not willing to take on IT director role, but he's willing to do more than just CRM for Warren County. He's willing to take on CRM for the state in order to help fix things, make better automation, make sure all the affiliates have better access to data that helps them grow, et cetera, et cetera. So that was one of the key things I was going to bring up in my discussion. But I think that he would be an excellent answer. It's just the only caution is just that he doesn't want to take on the IT director role for the state. That's all.
So we have
That's
1
the
person willing to
limitation.
take on CRM work, 2 other people willing to take on IT, more
Yes.
director style work. I'm willing to pitch in a little bit, but I'm pretty junior, so I can't help much. But I think that right now, everything is being funneled through Jim, and that's not workable. So I agree with Helen and just want to add that part as well.
And part of the problem also is because I have the elevated access, but I too had about 8 weeks where I was pretty much unavailable. My app that I've been creating and launching goes live on Valentine's Day, so I get my life back. Like, I have been working ungodly hours, weekends, nights, and haven't been as responsive as I typically like to be. So it's added to the problem. So I can understand life happens.
Well, but that's my point. Is if everything's dependent on 2 people, that's still not great.
Right.
Like, I'd want maybe the most core systems, like the full access, admin, whatever. Maybe that should only be 2 or 3 people, but at least for moderate level, creating forms, giving access to the Rocket chat and emails, and hitting the reboot button, at least like 4 or 5 people if we can. I know we're volunteer groups, we don't have that big a pool, but not 2, because life happens. Sometimes life happens to both people at once, especially now with.
The problem is exactly what you just said. It was 3 people, and life happened to 3 people at
Yeah,
once.
because Patrick left, and then
Patrick had
and then
more
came
than
2
me.
people.
He was like, he had more access than I did. So at this point, I can give users access, but if something breaks in the provisioning on the back end, I don't have the knowledge or access to get to where that is. Like, he hasn't given me that fix, whatever that fix is that he does. And I can do some things in the website, but I don't know that I have all of them.
If I could make a suggestion based on how my corporate structure works, if Jim were to remain IT director and we made an assistant director in charge of CRM under him, and an assistant director in charge of LPO.org under him. And all three of those people had absolute admin access. And then they recruited people underneath themselves to help do work on those systems with moderate access to create forms and that kind of stuff. That's probably the structure we're shooting for. And then there should be maybe a password safe that you give access to the chair of both committees in case life happens to three people. Then we don't lose the passwords to everything, and we can get an IT professional on board, give them the passwords, and say, okay, now you need to take over this. And because, like you said, if Jim gets hit by a bus tomorrow, we lose it all.
Well, and I would clarify a little bit. Jim has removed himself from the IT director position on the website. I don't.
But that's
He hasn't been IT director for a long time. What happened was we brought in an IT director, and that person ended up having some extremely terrible past criminal convictions. So they got removed from their post. And then ever since then, he's been acting IT director because we haven't found anybody willing to be IT director. So that's where we're at with that.
Yeah.
We've been in that
But
situation for like 8 months or so.
to Derek's
If I-
point, though, we need to have a key vault that has all, because every infrastructure we have is cloud-based, everything. Nothing is in this office. So we need a key vault, and the officers of the party need to have access to be able to continue to run the party if
Someone vanishes
You
and
know,
is unreachable.
they went. My boss doesn't like
say
getting hit by the bus. We have to use wins the lottery. So if Jim wins the lottery, we need access to the key vault.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think we're all on the same page on that.
Okay, if I could retort my earlier statement, the reason I still say Jim is IT director is because he is the only one that knows the system inside out and backwards.
That's
He built
also
Yes.
correct. That is also a potential issue. Is that we're using a CRM that was developed by one person, and that single person and maybe also Helen are the only two people that really know the system inside out. So I don't know. I mean, and this is when this part of the agenda is when I also wanted to personally discuss some of the stuff that we had discussed at the last meeting, or when we were discussing the budget, which is, do we want to stay in this system and build it out and find a bunch of people to help? Or do we want to consider going to the national CRM where all these things would be mostly taken care of for us? We would just have to find people to do the actual grunt work on the ground, like, finding counties and, finding people that want to do some of the smaller stuff. Because
Fair
Go ahead.
that we invite Ken Molman to our next XCOM meeting to discuss
he's
pros and
actually
CRM.
here. He's actually here right now.
Oh,
I asked him last week if he would be available for this meeting. I thought that we might need him, and then I just pinged him again and said, "Hey, do you want to come talk about it?" So he knows better than I do the national CRM. So if I want to give him the floor for 5 to 10
Dustin,
minutes.
Would
What's
you
that,
mind if
Mr.
I stepped in for a sec? I wanted to make one comment about the more director position before we move away from it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it would make sense to have Jim ask the IT director, because at the end of the day, what that position means is that when stuff is falling apart, it is his responsibility to be there, be available, and fix it. And I think that that's kind of the point right now, is that his life is not making that possible for him. So I would be happy to have him as an advisor, as vice chair of legacy technology, like some whatever title he wants, whatever thing he wants, and to be there to help out. But I would not vote for Jim to be director, because right now he has too many plates in the air.
I
So
don't- I
we
don't
were
think
talking
he
about
wants
having that. Yeah.
I don't think he
I
wants
agree.
to.
No, I agree. So
Like,
so the
So-
people
And
who
Dustin,
would plan to have the master
we
director.
we can remind the newer members that when we had the election for XCOM chair, that was actually a prerequisite for him to run, was that he was going to be willing to hand off the position of IT director.
Yeah, and I don't
So
want to, I don't want to.
Okay.
He never went. I will. That's the one thing I will say. He never wanted to do both. But
Yes,
it ended
yes.
up being like I had thought that he ended up having to, which is
Yep.
the argument I made originally, is that we really, really need to find somebody to run IT and very quickly.
So I
Because
guess my question with that is, I have two people who are interested. How do I get them through this process? What verifications should I do? Can I do to make Jim's life easier if I need to do criminal background checks and spend 10 hours browsing through the Twitters and Facebooks? I don't know what you want me to do, but
just
I want
need-
to give
first
Jim
step-
these people that he just needs to review them technologically and give them passwords.
first step is to get me the information on these people,
Okay.
their names and stuff. I would like to talk to them, and then
Okay.
the biggest obstacle is going to be I personally do not have the permissions to set them up on the CRM to do things. So
Yes.
they could be Christ themselves. They could be the second coming of Christ, and I can't make them the IT director because I don't have the permissions to do it myself. So
Yes.
at the end of the day, Jim is eventually going to have find time to put these people onto the system.
Yeah. No, so that'd be my other request would be just that we, as much as we can, emphasize that this is the priority above all else, because our party is running, it's all digital. So yeah, no, thank you.
Right. Yep.
Then I guess the key vault would also be part of that. If we set up the key vault, that would take a lot of this off Jim, hopefully.
Right. And I wanted to. What's that?
I'd also like one caveat to this, that once we actually get an IT department structured,
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to put a provision in that if they're all going to fly to national convention, that they don't fly together.
Yes.
I'm
Second.
not kidding. In the corporate world, they do stuff like that. Key people do not travel together, and there's reasons why. So I think we should actually make that an
Yeah. I mean, I'd be in favor of giving Helen full admin access also, even if you don't use it. I mean, I don't think you're going to go steal all the data and break the website.
I think I have pretty close. I really do. I think he's trying to give me as much as he can, but there's a couple of things I just can't get his time to get to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
that'd
then
be my request to Jim, this stuff. More than his
And I want to talk about pros and cons of the national convention or national CRM since
Yes.
Ken is here this weekend. So I want to kind of give him the floor for 5 to 10 minutes. Ken, are you still here?
I am.
Okay. Give us a quick rundown on pros and cons of the national CRM, and what has changed since the last time we discussed this, and just kind of give us the 1,000-yard overview.
Yeah. So in case anyone doesn't know, we started offering a CRM service to states back in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. I think it's 2018 actually, when we went live. And the point of the project is to reduce the IT burden on state. What I've just heard for the last few minutes that I've been on is not unique to Ohio. It has been a regular problem in every state affiliate. IT people come, IT people go, IT people get busy. And a lot of the work that happens at the state is similar, right? We all have the same data needs. We need email, we need file shares, we need all of these things. It's all very standard stuff. So being a former state chair myself, having had to deal with this stuff, I had the thought that why do we have 50 states all struggling with the same things. We could centralize that at national and offer it as a service to the states, which it is voluntary, and it will always be voluntary. But to take that, to volunteer, basically, to take that burden, or at least a good chunk of it, off of the state. So that's where the project came from. We are now into year 3, I believe, officially production, or will be soon. Think about that. 2019, it was February 2019 when National restored the funding and we got things rolling. So I guess it's actually been 2 full years. We're now into the beginning of year 3. Since that time, the system continues to be improved. We have better user access controls. We now have the ability to have multiple state level admins. We still do have the requirement that from a user interface. So when National, if you want to open a ticket, a support ticket, that tends to want to go through just the IT director, whoever that is. And really that's a matter of making sure that we're not answering the same questions 8,000 times. We've also developed a whole lot, speaking of that, developed a whole lot of documentation. Lots of information is available for people to read up, watch videos, learn how to use the system. Another thing that we're trying to get implemented at National and keep getting stalled is a learning management system. So basically online learning, where you would be able to get certified that you have learned something. That's not implemented yet, but certainly once that does get implemented, we plan on bringing that on board for the CRM as well. Long story short, from a technical background, the same things are pretty much still there. We still use Stripe for our credit card processing and ask states to use that. We have, let's see, trying to think about what other things have changed. We now are working our way into text banking, so Twilio. We have switched our email over to using AWS, which is actually cheaper, using Amazon SES, where we pay a fraction of a penny per, I forget how many emails, and LPKY's bill, for instance, went down from $30 a month, which is what we were paying for the flat fee for email. I believe we currently owe them 57 cents or something like that. So for a month. So it significantly reduced our mailing cost. Other than that, we've resolved some of the weird permission problems, things that state level people weren't able to edit before they can edit. The only things that you really at this point still have to go back to National on is setting up an event that's a ticketed event. And so we do have an SLA around that. So does kind of force the states to do a little bit of planning to get ticketed items up and online, but we have a 1 week or less turnaround. So as long as you're not trying to throw together a ticketed event in less than a week, no issues at all. And even in the rare scenarios where we do have the ticketed events that happen in less than a week, by the way, those don't end well, just generally, because if you have to advertise to sell tickets, giving yourself only a week to do that doesn't end well. But regardless, we've been able to accommodate in those scenarios too. It's just that it creates havoc, and we try to avoid that. I'm open to whatever. It is a voluntary system. People can come in, states can leave. We have it written into the policy manual. I wrote most of the policy manual stuff around the CRM. As a former state chair, any state is guaranteed a copy if they decide to leave. And really the only big question marks left around that sort of thing at this point are the handful of states that have decided to lose their minds and try to split in half. Please don't do that. And other than that, that's pretty much the summary of everything, I think. It's better than it was. We fixed problems. We continue to make it better. Don't be a state that loses its mind. That's the summary version.
Ken,
Yes.
I know sometimes the term CRM is used interchangeably with everything versus just the database of records management.
Right.
Does this package include website hosting, a chat service, cloud storage, everything, or what does it include and what does it not include compared to all the tools we use as a state?
Right. So right now we have web, we have email, and we have the CRM database itself. I am in the process of trying to get there's two big projects that I'm working on behind the scenes. First is implementing some sort of directory services so that we have an actual single sign-on for everything. That's getting to be, once you start getting 2 and 3 and 4 systems in place, it becomes a pain to have more passwords. So working on a single sign-on, and I'm also working on a file sharing service as well. That kind of depends on the single sign-on piece. But that would essentially, the way that would go down is that states would be responsible for paying for the storage, but that the maintenance of the system would be through national, and again, tied into that single sign-on. So your one ID would give you access to your email, the appropriate level of the CRM, and also the appropriate directories in your file share. So that's what we're heading toward. If states would quit self-destructing on the LNC, I would have a little more time to invest in that.
That's one piece that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, well, that's one piece that even if we decided to switch, we probably would not need to take advantage of because we have a drive system set up already on our end that does all that already. But it's nice to know that it's being worked towards.
And
The
in 4 months
problem,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the problem is a lot of the services we have are tied together as package. So if we got rid of CRM, you may be affecting your other niceties that Derek was mentioning. It was in Derek almost verbatim said what I had typed as my questions.
Yeah, so essentially, if we stop using the CRM,
We
would
lose
also
everything.
lose the drive access because they're tied together.
So Ken, I have a couple of
No,
questions.
hold on. The software packages are tied together on the server, but that doesn't mean we couldn't shut down the database portion on our side and the website portion on our side and maintain these other systems as ourselves with correct domain routing and a separate login. Is that correct, Ken?
Probably. I'm not as familiar with what you have set up there.
Jim actually just joined
I
us
am.
a couple ago, so he can
So,
probably let
yeah.
us know.
Because then we would still have to manually create logins for every person, which is almost the same work as entering them into the CRM, right?
So hey, I fortunately had a moment to jump in here, which sounds like this is the best place. If I was going to have a minute to attend today, I've got a question, and I want to explain or clarify a few of the points that were mentioned there. Acknowledging that you said SSO is a thing in process, just as a technical detail, Ken, is that something that we could get an LDAP interface to?
Potential. That actually is, Jim, one of the things I'm looking at, not to get too technical here, but Azure AD is, they're offering it for
Perfect.
free for organizations. So we would, if we can get that to work, then yes, we'd be able to do external authentication. That would be the gold standard, right? Is being able to have external systems that still use the same logins.
Yeah, because so basically, and this is kind of getting at either things that were said and or the decision process last time. Just to make it very clear for everybody, the problems we were having last time around as the system was newer was actually a lot less about the CRM system itself, but about some of the ancillary requirements, what had to go with it. And what we didn't want to, and that we didn't really have good solutions for at the time. It sounds like a lot of that may be changing. Just to lay a little bit of detail, like the system that we're running right now is acting as the backing store for like everything, but we have actually a lot of flexibility on how we drive the user accounts that people use for stuff that the LPO maintains and hosts. We could likely maintain a huge chunk of that, if not all of that, in especially with this SSO concept, it would be very easy to separate that. The piece that I have a more specific question about is on the web side of it, like the website side. I know that the LNC, at least, right, uses the national CRM, but kind of drops into it selectively from the main site, right, as opposed to running all of lp.org directly off of the same system versus the sites that the states operate generally being straight on top of it. Are the state-run sites able to make broader or more general use of various plugins right now? Because we have many that we like and are ready for at least like events and presently for handling donations as well. So that would be the first question. And the second piece of that is in moving people over, even if we have all that in Stripe, we have people tied to, subscriptions in Stripe, would we be able to kind of get that cleanly brought over? Would be the only kind of two constraints that we ran up against last time.
Yes, so we have learned, so Stripe does have the ability to redirect existing recurring donation webhooks. And so I've been working on that actually, but it looks like it's completely possible. I haven't done it yet, to be completely transparent here. But the way that interaction occurs, we can edit the web stripe. It can actually be redirected to an entirely different, the webhook can be redirected to a completely different site, which means that all we have to do is have it set up on our side to say, know that when that webhook comes in, this is this transaction, right? And so it's just a matter of reverse engineering the setup of the original recurring donation within the CRM. So it looks like that's totally doable. So we can eliminate that hand keying that people were doing for a long time. In some states, they're still doing. It's a nightmare. I hate hand keying. The control of the website as far as the plugins go, we still do limit a lot of the plugins. We try to make sure that we have all of the functionality that states need. But when it comes to WordPress specifically, there are probably hundreds of thousands of plugins at this point, and so the problem becomes every plugin you install slows the system down. And we try to make sure that we get the maximum functionality with the minimum number of plugins. That is something that would need to still be discussed. Figure out what it is that you're using, how that would translate, that kind of stuff. But
the biggest two to be very clear, because they're fairly common cases at least, is the events calendar. Like we run we license like the I think not quite the everything package, but most of the events calendar to run our events calendaring and to take submissions from party members and so on. So that's a big one. Because the job board could be swapped out pretty easily. That's not so big of a deal. But the other big one is the LPO store piece, which admittedly right now is handling the events ticketing piece, where that's part of the functionality that is tied in with the event calendaring, is that we can A, take the user submissions, B, do the ticketing all through there. And then the final piece is that we are running Woo for the store in general, and the ability to do sort of on the fly or on demand merchandising is something that we definitely want to retain. I think, but
yeah. So in rewinding, that brings back the conversation about the website. So just a little bit of quick history here. The recent statistics that were collected for LP.org and LPstore.org. In the month of January, LP Store, let me preface this by saying LP Store is going to change. I don't even know if Dustin knows about this yet. Anybody want to venture a guess how many unique people bought stuff from LP Store in January?
7.
500.
Oh, you're so close. It was 8. So close. So close. Yeah, we had 8 people buy stuff from LP Store. Do you know how many people, unique visitors, LP.org had in January?
100,000.
10,000?
Somebody
Oh,
said
that has to
100.
be in the millions.
Jim, you went the wrong way on that one, buddy.
Oh no, we're
Um,
definitely millions and millions. All the Americans.
I was waiting to keep coming down. We started at 100,000, then we went to 10,000. Keep going.
1,000?
Keep going.
100?
Keep going.
20?
32.
To LPO.org.
To LP.org.
Oh, are you to LP.org?
Yes, sir.
That sounds
That doesn't sound possible. Like, are you?
No one uses
You
the
should
website.
have had more bots hit your website.
everyone-
Yeah, but nothing.
Everyone that goes
Well,
there
and
is
that's
the
and to be
convention.
fair, so this is Cloudflare DNS reporting, and it does filter out the bots. These are actual human beings.
Well, but even just if you're going to like the convention website,
Right.
Or does that
That-
does it only
That's
count hit
that's not
to
that's not counted.
.org/other stuff or
The-
mylp.org?
No, it only counts LP.org, none of the other stuff.
Okay, that would explain it. So I guess everyone
Right.
goes to the convention or they go to the mylp.org or stuff. They don't.
Yep. Yep. Nobody goes.
Still, I
nobody
agree.
goes to LP.org.
Yeah.
So the point being is, I have a feeling that LP.org is going to get merged into the CRM directly because there's really no reason to pay $250 a month to host it separately if only 30 people are looking at it. So
Yeah.
that's in the store. The reason I brought the store and the number of people there is that something's going to have to change there as well. A year and a half ago or less, actually, I think it was about a year ago, I had proposed a solution through a vendor who was willing to build us a store that would have made it so that each state could have had their own store landing page. National would have had its landing page, but it actually had been one store. So if you went to store.lpo.org, it would still go to the same place as store.lp.org, but the landing page, you would be presented with LPO branded stuff, LPO stuff, everything. And there'd be a link at the top that says, hey, check out the national one too. You'd be able to go and buy stuff from all those different stores. And from the national site, it would have had all of our stuff. And then what's hot in the States, and been able to say, oh, look, here's this shirt from LP Ohio that's really cool. I want that shirt. And so it would have been a synergistic system. It would have been basically the CRM for the store. We didn't buy it on it then, but nobody's buying anything from the store right now. So I'm hoping that we can revisit that at the LNC level in the next few months prior to convention. If states quit imploding, so that we can actually focus on real shit instead of states. Anyway.
No.
For the curious, by the way, using the exact same company's exact same analytics, LPO.org ran 1,000 visitors, unique visitors. So, I think it sounds like on the one hand that we're probably like 95% solved on problems that we saw in the past or would have in migrations going forward here. And I, to the extent that we'd be able, I think it's fair to say for the room that if we're, if the LNC would like collaborators or particularly experienced / complex test cases to work some of this out as it's being implemented, we'd be happy to participate to whatever extent we're able to collaborate on that and help make sure that we get good solutions for those last remaining couple of issues there. So I think that's all very good news to hear.
Yeah, and we are certainly doing that. I mean, obviously, we're at 30 states now are in the system. Without going into the issues we've had with some of the miscellaneous states imploding, none of which, by the way, were on the CRM, so I don't count them anyway. The states that we're onboarding now are of the same nature, right? They have a couple of things that are more difficult. They are larger states. We're in the process of bringing Texas on board right now. So, it's one of those things that the larger states do have more complex procedures in place, whereas a smaller state, just like, we have a website, And so it's a little different between the two. And so we're certainly now much better equipped to handle those scenarios.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, just so that everybody is very clear on this, the underlying tech that is being used off of our machine, so like the other services that were mentioned by Ken, specifically SES for email, Twilio for text and voice, and the hell, even down to Cloudflare for DNS, and I mean bunches of these things, Stripe for payment processing. We are already using those same backing services. It's going to be more a problem of just changing what's orchestrating all of this on the top, which, to be fair, is still a substantial problem. But like, there's less new for us under the hood here.
Also, want to interject that Helen has a question.
I can speak for myself, but thanks.
Just
Just kidding. When you get to know me better, you'll know. I still have a couple of questions, having been here throughout this whole process. Ken, are you still there?
I am here.
Are we cloud-based with this system, or is it in your basement?
No, so where we're at right now, we are now running a hyper-converged architecture. So for those that don't know, it's basically a built cluster. We have 4 nodes in a data center in Texas. We have the data center has redundant power and also has generators, which that I was talking to the NOC manager 2 or 3 days ago, who, by the way, the NOC manager at that data center is a capital L Libertarian who has run for office for us for LP Texas. It's like, that's pretty cool. So we had a nice
when you
little
say
conversation about
data
that.
center, it's a actual company. It's not somebody's house.
Yes, that is correct. It is a data center. And by the way, we have never been hosted at my house or anywhere else. The only thing ever hosted at my place was the staging environment out of necessity. But now our new environment is large enough. We actually have staging there too. And so it is all redundant, and it is all protected on site. And then the off-site process, sadly, is still getting replicated to my basement, which sucks, but that's what it is, because I can't get the LNC to buy another $15,000 worth of stuff. But,
Okay,
you know,
so I still have a few questions. But initially, when we looked at the system, when we logged in, we could see other users' donations. Can all users that log in see other people's donations still?
So where we're at right now with that, we've been talking about that, whether or not we now have the ability to turn it off. So we can see, for instance, well, actually, I would be a good example, because I've donated to Ohio, I've donated to Kentucky, Alabama, et cetera, et cetera. You can see, because I'm a contact within the context of LPO, because I've donated to you, you would be able to see my record. And today, you can also see that I've donated to Kentucky and Alabama and all these other states and nationally. You can see all the membership level. There's been talk about, do we want to turn that off or not? Previously, we could not. Now we can, and now we're trying to decide if we want to. That hasn't really been decided. There are pros and cons to both sides on that.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
And the other issue that, sorry.
Hold on, Helen. Are you talking about like a super user login, or are you talking
No,
about anyone
any
with a login?
user, just any user that logged in can see all the donations
Oh my God. Okay.
nationally.
so what she's talking about there is, if you have access to see the content, right? So we do have the permissioning set up that, so for instance, let's say the Franklin County chair logs in and their role as Franklin County chair. They're going to be able to see everybody who has been associated with Franklin County, which means anybody who has donated to Franklin County or anyone who lives in Franklin County who's in the system, right? Once you have that level of access, you can then also see information about those people, right? Their address, their phone number, and their donation. But it's not like the Franklin County chair can go see the donations that were made to the Alaska Party generally, or to even all of LPO, right? They'd only be able to see Franklin County because that's their
So-
scope.
So
So
Ken,
they
I
could-
could, for example, see all the people in Franklin County who donated to Pennsylvania to be part of their convention. If I
They would
Got
be
it.
able to-
okay.
All right, so my next question is, when we've looked at this last, only one person was gonna be able to send mass emails. Do we have to designate one person for the whole state that sends everybody's mass email?
No, we have since fixed that and improved that. So where we're at with that today, the only limitation, the only time we have a only one person limitation is opening tickets with national to Andy Byrne. And that is really a matter of trying to funnel the training down through so that there's one person who is learning all the things. And then that way Andy doesn't get hit with every little issue. It funnels up. And the idea being eventually that then the states would also create deputies, and they would also handle a lot of that before it even hit the main IT director. It's all, that's the ideal.
That's fair, yeah, that makes sense.
But-
I was
but
just
as far
concerned
as-
about who can send emails, so like the communications director can send a mass email, the chair can send a mass email.
Yes, and we're actually moving more and more into encouraging states to do targeted emailing. So obviously you have your monthly newsletters, and that's fine. But we're really trying to move the entire organization toward, hey, something on the Second Amendment happened. Send email to all your contacts on the Second Amendment, right? And we have those tags, and we can create those lists on the fly. So you basically say, show me all the contacts that are Second Amendment people, and I want to send them a letter. So, and it does it within the context of what that particular user is able to see, right? So again, Franklin County Chair logs in and says, show me all the Second Amendment people. He's only going to see Second Amendment people in Franklin County, right? But he's going to be able to email all those people too.
So the next one is county access. Like currently we have our website, but we also host for counties to have their WordPress. Once they're affiliated, they have their site and they have their access. Will they similarly still have that in this new system?
That's a really good question. I haven't followed up on that in a little while. The last that I had followed up on that, what we were doing was we were creating sub pages of the site. So in Kentucky, my 4th district party, we had lpky.org/D4, and that kind of dropped you into a landing page that the 4th district maintained. And I don't know if that would be the way. I'd have to follow up to find out what we're capable of doing on that front, because I just don't know. I haven't followed up on that in a while. We haven't had that question in a while.
And that's what we have here. LPO.org/Lucas is the Lucas County landing page.
We actually subdomain those. So it's lucas.lpo.org. Yeah.
Yeah, but we could keep doing that subdomaining. I don't think it'd be much of an issue. I know Franklin County is now actually moving to Substack for our website.
The bigger thing with the county's websites is usually more about, or the problems that would crop up there would be more around joining and managing that donations and that kind of stuff. So I think on the membership side, our process is fine presently. By default, most counties just lean back on join state, and we send a portion of those membership dues around internally. Although for those counties that are affiliated and are starting to do more in fundraising, setting up their bank accounts and so on, we would have to, from my understanding right now, have some kind of sort of alternate dropout from their, if separate, county site to the state CRM connected one to process those donations into even their own accounts. How does
we're able to set up a separate we can tie the sub-organization's Stripe account into the state organization's website. So in other words, if you were to give someone lpo.org/Lucas, right, and there was a donate button on that page, we would be able to drive that from lpo.org. Those donations can still go right into the bank account. So we do have that. We can. I think the main issue with any of the subdomaining and/or separate site issues, what we run into, what we see, are event synchronization. So that tends to be the big hiccup, is that when you start splitting the sites out all over the place, you end up with disjointed event pages. And as someone who travels for a living, I have been known to pop out to a state's website to see what they might have going on that weekend, because I happen to be stranded in some weird state over the weekend because I had work up late on Friday and early on Monday. I'm like, hey, I'm bored. I wonder if there's a libertarian thing going on. And I can tell you that my level of success at finding events actually on a website for state affiliates in that scenario has been pretty bad, actually, even though there were plenty of events going on. And that is something that I want to emphasize, that if you break up into multiple sites or whatever you do, really strongly consider how is it you're going to make sure that all the events end up somewhere centralized. And that is the one thing we do have by doing it with the subsite. And actually, for that matter, again, because it's the CRM, right? All of LP.org's events are driven off the CRM too. So everything's in that database. If you're on the system, it's in there. And that's kind of cool to be able to search everything, because then, I don't know, if I'm happen to be in Florida the week before Christmas and like, gee, I wonder if anybody's got some holiday parties going on, and their website says nothing, even though there's literally 2 of them going on at that moment. It's nice to know. Not that that's ever happened to me personally or anything.
Along similar lines, as far as covering any gaps, the ability to have any API access to Civi, like even just the Civi API, was ruled out last time. Is that still the case?
It's probably going to be the case, at least for now. Now, that said, one of the things I'm working on, Jim, is setting up point-to-point firewalls. We're using pfSense. I would feel a lot better if we're going to go that route, to somehow make sure that we're doing specific IP-based stuff, so that if we're going to expose the API, it's only going to get exposed to the systems we want it to be exposed to.
Okay.
Sorry for everybody else that just was like, what the hell did he just say? But the point is that I would like to have the ability to connect outward. I just want to make sure it's very, very secure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and honestly, that I think the main takeaway above the technical details that I know we've gotten into a little bit here and there, are that the answers have not just been no, which leaves us room to work, right? So,
right. So
I still have 3 more questions.
I still have 2 as well.
I also have 3 points.
I think I'm good at this point. I'm gonna listen to everybody else's questions and the answers, and I will at this point just remand myself to jumping in for corrections of fact if necessary.
So when we have a new volunteer that joins us and they are going to become a user of the system, do they get an email address that will say lpo.org? And if so, how does that get requested and approved? Is it at national, or does state have the ability to do that?
State has the ability to do that. So assuming you were to come over to our email system as well, it would be left to whoever your IT director or whoever they give access to go in and create that email account.
And you said
it'll be an SSO.
You said ticketed events have to be done through national, but what about non-ticketed events? Would we be able to throw on a meeting 2 weeks away without going through national?
Absolutely, yes. Only because the ticketed events, the trick there is that because it gets tied to a financial transaction is the part that National has to get involved with, is tying the front end WordPress event with the back end Civi event so it's the same event. And it literally is not hard. Like, I learned how to do it on my own now because I have super admin access, and Andy never told me how to do it. But I'm sure you'll be shocked to hear that a particular affiliate that I'm very close to waited to the last minute to do something, and Andy was busy, so I hacked it, and it worked. So the point being is that I think we'll be able to reply to those faster in the future. But for now, we're saying 7 days. But it's not hard. It just requires some special access, and you can break things. And that's why we don't just open it up, because you can break things. Oops. I may or may not have done that once. Yeah. So that's the only piece that you have to ask for National's help on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If your IT director disappears and no one else is set to that level of access, you'd have to ask us for help there. I mean, really, it's just it's the donation / event stuff. Yeah, the donation pages are still run through Andy as well. Again, it all goes back to tying the financial contributions to the right Stripe accounts and setting up the decision trees. That all falls back on Andy. So whether it's an event or a generic contribution page, it's really about the Civi Stripe relationship there as well. So those are the places I think, yeah, that's everything. Those are the places where you still have to have Andy involved.
So I have a few questions and comments. I understand that we have Civi CRM integrated with WordPress. Assume that we want to keep our hosting and our current CRM. Is there a way that we can have Civi CRM on a Joomla or Drupal installation, for example, and not have it connected to our WordPress website?
I think about that. I mean,
would we be able to have the data and not have our WordPress site integrated with National's hosting?
Is it possible? Yeah, but I don't know if that's the problem. Is if you don't integrate, then you're still stuck in a scenario where data has to be transferred and merged together, which is an absolute nightmare. But yeah,
the slightly cleaner solution there, I mean, is even if we kept running the website separately, would be if on that API access thing that we were talking about, right? In order to not resynchronize data, to either drop out, kind of like the present LP.org setup is, where there's certain pages that drop into my.lp, right? For some of the financial handling, whatever. We'd have to probably do something like that in addition to making sure that whatever we ran outside would shove its data straight back into that CRM.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Now I understand what it was. Yes, we could technically do like a my.lpo.org as well. So yes,
which, just to be clear, would be very different from the current my.lpo.org, which is a thing and is serving a slightly different function.
Okay, sorry. That's okay. Yeah. So anyway,
yeah.
The answer then is yes, you could, but there would be caveats, and you would have to really work through that. But yes.
Okay, so another thing I just would like clarification on is, if we were on the National CRM's hosting and stuff, would that imply that counties do not have their own websites and ability to edit if everything is done through the LPO site?
The counties. So just like the relationship with states to national, most counties to state are the same way, right? You typically don't command down. States and counties can do whatever they want. It's just a matter of how well integrated they are in the system. So if counties were to maintain their own websites, and this is a universal truth, right? If a county's maintaining its own data and maintaining its own website, then it is inherently not tied into its state or its state's database, unless that's been built for that. So I'm struggling to. I'm just thinking about the way that we have done it previously is that on the WordPress site. So, and I can just give you the example of LPKY because that's where I did it. In Kentucky, we had separate pages for each of the districts because the only thing the districts were using and the counties were using was to post notices and event notices and minutes was all that was being posted. We just gave them access to the page and just let them rip. It's like, here's your page, do whatever you want. And we could give more pages. It's just that nobody wanted to maintain more than one page.
Well, a page is very different than a website, right? Each county should have have the ability to have their own website, and I wouldn't support stripping them of that ability if that's what it meant to be on the national CRM.
But I think
Is my point.
I know what Illinois is that each county could have their own website, or they could integrate, and it's just you do whatever you want. If you want to integrate, you can, but you don't have to.
Right.
What he's
I mean,
saying
that's,
is
that,
if we went on national.
Yeah. Okay.
right. It's the same relationship no matter what, right? This is a libertarian organization. You can't make people do anything. So the point is that you can ask the counties would, well, unless LP Ohio puts something in our bylaws or constitution or something to require it. Otherwise, the counties are free to do whatever. That's an internal party thing for you guys to figure out. But from our perspective, who comes on or who doesn't is voluntary. The state is who we interact with at national. The interaction between state and the counties is left to the state and the counties to figure out.
Yeah, something that even if there is a domain that like there is a Ohio/Franklin County or something, Franklin County party doesn't need to use it. Doesn't matter. if it
That's
exists.
different than hosting a separate website. That was
Yeah.
my point. Just
Okay.
having a page on a site is not the same as a different website.
Yeah, that's
itself.
what I'm saying. Is even if they give us a page on the site, we can ignore it.
But I just think
mean-
that's redundant if we
Yeah.
have both. But
That's true.
So another thing I would like to ask then, would you be able to show us a demo or something or some sort of visual on your screen of like what the back end looks like by any chance? Or something so that we can kind of compare and contrast as to just telling us what the features are?
Yeah, absolutely, and I would say that probably the right thing to do would be to set up another meeting to do that. Just because I'm already hijacking the hell out of your XCOM meeting here or CENTCOM. I don't even know which meeting I'm in. So, okay, XCOM. Yeah. So, but I'm more than happy to do that. We've done that for multiple states and can definitely give a tour.
Yeah, if there is interest in that, and I will assume there is, unless I get told otherwise, I can coordinate and set up a separate session for those interested members, directors, staff to see that and give any kind of feedback, take notes from that for our decision making.
I have two questions. One for Jim. If we were to go on to the national CRM and we maintained the things that we use that national does not provide, what kind of savings are we looking at as far as server costs for our current cloud system? Are we really going to save anything moving the database and the website over and still having to maintain these other dozen systems? Is there going to be like a less data usage, less storage, less processor that's going to save us money, or is it kind of a moot point?
That is a complicated question to estimate, but I will say, depending on a lot of those other factors, how much we held back, as well as what we ended up deciding to do about county sites and a few other pieces there. I mean, it's most likely that you see a very marginal amount of savings as far as the actual hardware resources that we're using in the cloud are concerned. It would not be substantial. However, that is not the largest piece per se of our spending in that space. What is, let me see, if we're talking about total budget, I'm just going to give like a real back of the napkin number. About half or so of the cost there is for licensing various software plugins and other things that we run. It would be more about what features of other software that we license that could be replaced than the server itself, assuming that we got sort of the events satisfactorily handled in there, as well as the, I think the other biggest one would be events and donations, right? If events and donations get handled there, those two things on their own is a few. It's like $1,000. It's like close to. I think it's close to $1,500 in licensing per year. It's certainly at least 12. And that's where we'd see the bigger savings.
Well, I think that's also, it's worth pointing out that there's stuff that right now we don't have that we would be having for this cost, like Franklin County pays for their own MailChimp and that kind of stuff. That there's a lot of stuff that would cost us money that we're just not doing. Like, not all the counties are sending out large bulk emails through the CRM, but that would cost us money. But right now we're just not doing it that we would be able to do with national. So it's like we're gaining a lot of things that right now don't cost us money because we don't do them.
Yeah, well, and to like I said, under the hood, it all of our email sending is SES based now anyway. So any county that bothered to get into our CRM and send an email, it would go out over the same system. We'd pay the same fees on that. So and same with the payment processing with Stripe, same with the messaging with Twilio and what have you. Like our underlying costs, like the variable components are the same. They're still usage based.
Okay.
So if usage went way up, then those would go up. But if usage went way up, in theory, that's also driving more inputs. So.
Yeah.
Okay, and my other question for Ken, I believe you and I have talked about this, that there's currently no cost to the states. Is that correct?
Correct. We do not charge the states for anything right now. What is changing, because we've got a handful of power states now doing a lot of stuff. We are a system of right now 30 states, of which about 5 consume 90% of our time, and so we're introducing a model that, and the details haven't been hammered out, but essentially we're providing general services to all states for free. We will provide a certain number, and that number has not been figured out yet, of specialized services per state per year for free. And then at some point, whatever that number is, and we haven't figured that out yet, if you continue to ask for specialized services, there will be additional costs, and we have to put a check and balance on that, because one state in particular is at like 40 hours for the year already, and that's a lot because it's only February, and there's only a handful of people working on this. So that is something that we are looking at, is the above and beyond. One of the other things we're looking at as an alternative to that is allowing states to go out and hire approved vendors to do work on their behalf as well. We have a handful of vendors that we've worked with, established relationships with. Ohio probably wouldn't fall into that category. That's more about states that are not FEC compliant, and as a result cannot give money directly to national. But that is that's kind of what's being looked at. So yes, all the base services are free. The setup is free. All that stuff's free. The only cost that I foresee on the horizon would be what I'm calling the above and beyond plan, which is, you're once a week coming to us asking us to set up a very complex branching decision tree donation page all the time, which that consumes a lot of time to create those branching trees.
Or I suppose if we ask you to implement a certain licensed software for our use, that we pay that fee or something like that as well, right?
Yeah, assuming that it's not going to be a detriment to the system. Although we started out that way with a number of plugins, and we eventually took those over because they end up benefiting everybody, right? And so that's
Right.
part of that too. Is that so Jim mentioned that you guys own licenses for certain things already. Assuming that those licenses are able to be used in a multi-site and applied to everyone, obviously we'd love to have you come in. We take those licenses over, we use it for the remainder of the period under what you've already paid for, and then we pick that up going forward.
Okay. I guess I do have two other quick questions for you, Ken. One, do you guys have that are developing the system? Do you have a roadmap drawing or something that tells us what you're planning to implement in the next 6 months, next year, next 2 years?
Yes.
Spitball of ideas that you want to add, something that you'd be able to maybe when we have the demo on it, maybe share that with the group so that we can see the growth of this product going forward.
Absolutely. And we started out with a 5-year plan. And as all 5-year plans go, they change. But
Yep.
we're mostly on track. Right now, the big one is that we are working on getting Razor's Edge, the national CRM that they use internally and have used for the last 15 or 20 years. That is in flight to be converted into Civi, and National will ideally, assuming that nobody does anything silly, be merging in, and that's going to save the National Party about 28,000. I'm sorry, it's 31,500 this year dollars in licensing for that. So that'll save us going forward. That was on the roadmap for year 3. It is year 3, and we are on target to make that happen in year 3. So yes, we do have a 5-year plan, and more than happy to share at least where it was. I don't know that we've gone back and updated it to match some of the things that we've done, but yeah.
It sounds like we're going to schedule another meeting on the CRM specifically. Would people be okay with? I know I have a few more questions, but I'm willing to just table them till that next meeting. And then, or Dustin, would be in a 5-minute recess since we've been here for 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, let's call this discussion tabled for a minute. Let's take a 5 to 10 minute bio break. Let's call it 8 minutes. We'll come back at 12. Well, yeah,
12:15. Okay.
8 minutes, and then all you guys are doing that. I'll figure out when Ken will be available for another meeting, and then we'll figure out from there when we want to do that.
Sounds good. And Jim, we were talking about some other IT stuff earlier. You came in part of the way through it. So if you want to go back through and watch the rest of the video later, but we have people interested in being IT director and want your support to vet them and permissions and etc. And we'll try to make it as easy as we can, but yeah.
Good. Along the same lines, if we want to set something else up between, I'll take a look at that for sure. Thank you for the heads up on it. I planned on reviewing all the parts of this that I missed anyway. And then if we want to set up a separate hour or something in the next in this coming week or what have you between yourself and or Helen and I as needed to just kind of chew through some work, I'd be happy to do that.
Sweet. Happy to help.
Thanks.
Ken, when are you good for a meeting?
Let me take a look here at my calendar. I know I'm out of town. So Dustin, this is hilarious. I got sent out of town for work the same weekend as my LPKY regional convention. 4th district.
What weekend is that?
4th district is happening the weekend after Valentine's Day. So it's the 19th, and that's in Kenton County. That's a hell of a lot closer than the state, just so you know. But I will be out of town for work. So yay. So I have the 12th is wide open. I mean, it really depends on when we want to do this, a weekend or an evening or whatever. I am shot though. The 17th and the 21st is gone. That's gone.
I'm gonna be out of commission myself. Not that I necessarily have to be there this coming weekend. I'll be gone the 11th or the 14th.
We can also do it in an evening. during the week. Like, that's the other option. I don't know that we need to have a whole day. But March 5th and 6th are obvious. 4th, 5th, and 6th are obviously shot for me as well. That's Kentucky's convention weekend.
Right, and I'll be there as well. So
But
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward stuff as far as an evening or a weekend or whatever.
What do you think you need for demo time? Like the canned part, how long you think that is? Like a half hour?
Yeah, half hour or less. I mean, it's really just here's a website. I'll probably bop into on the web side of it, look at Kentucky just because it's there and set up. And then on the CRM side, we actually still have, and what we didn't get to is that we've been National still syncing all of their data in to the CRM that is Ohio data, right? Ohio, anything they're getting for Ohio is still getting put into the CRM. All donations, all that stuff actually lands in Civi first now, and then gets replicated basically out to Razor's Edge.
Yeah, I'm expecting that even if we're at about a half an hour for the demo part, that if we bring a reasonably sized group and the right people, there's going to be a good at least that long of questions following, probably a bit more, and it might make sense for us to plan to tack on a little bit of time for some internal chatter at the end. So I would like to find some window in which we can probably book about 2 hours for people. Realize that we'll only use the first probably half to one of that. I guess everything short of maybe 30 minutes as a group. So. I'm traveling a bit this month too, but I think an evening might make sense. We have Tuesdays are generally out because we have directors meetings those nights. Most of the committees tend to meet like in a Wednesday or Thursday kind of area. So if there's an upcoming probably Monday rather than Friday evenings, that would work. And probably not Valentine's Day and not this coming Monday.
Hey, Jim?
Yeah.
Could I recommend that you as chair maybe form an ad hoc committee specifically for this purpose so we don't get a bunch of people that'll have nothing to do with it on the back end? Not taking up a lot of Ken's time, make it as like an exploratory committee to see the feasibility first, and then be the transmission team if we decide to go. So we don't get 30 people all. We don't need county affiliates necessarily and stuff like that on a call for this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I honestly, I'm less worried about the county affiliates as a part of the like sort of get in there, look around, see the thing part of the CRM. As much as the state staff, just based on who's using it the most heavily presently. And frankly, I would be happy to do that. I think whether that happens on the front or the back side of this particular meeting is not such a big deal, but I think that's a very good suggestion for the sake of doing like the formal decision making and recommendations.
Yeah, people will have enough knowledge to be able to ask intelligent questions. So we get answers and we move forward instead of getting a bunch of redundant questions that may or may not lead to a decision.
Is Constitution and Bylaws meeting this week?
We are technically done, although I just suggested to the team one more potential change I have in chat. We're going to discuss there and vote on it. But Constitution and Bylaws Committee is actually done. I was surprised to see that on this, on XCOM, because that was a CENTCOM committee creation. So I don't know why that was on the agenda for this meeting.
let everybody know because it doesn't appear we're going to have a CENTCOM meeting. So that's why I put it on there. At least keep people informed.
So
Okay,
real quick,
then
'cause you're about to come back to order. As far as dates go, I mean, the next 3 Mondays are basically terrible.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, the funny part is Monday's bad, but then like Tuesday's fine, Wednesday's fine, Thursday's fine. Nobody wants to
Okay.
do this on a Friday night.
We'll do. Well, I mean, it's my idea of a good time, but hey,
Right. Yeah.
let's. I know. Let's do. I think we'll aim for a. Let's see. The first was a. Oh my god. Yeah, I think aiming for a Thursday would be fine, given the info on where committees are at. If we want to aim for the 10th, say like probably do 7 Eastern on the 10th tentatively, if that works for you, and I'll get that pulled together.
I'm wide open on the 10th. Is actually the best Thursday you could have picked.
All
For
right,
me.
perfect.
February 10th or March 10th?
February.
Okay.
All right, I'll mark that down, and we can coordinate on the details on either side. But I'll pencil that in, and we'll get it set up.
Yeah, so I have a plan, like, we'll purchase like, they're cheap.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Out in the beach.
Problem, guys. Keep up your work and
We're covering most costs.
take
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so we're back at 12:15, 12:16, close enough.
Ready to call us back to order whenever you guys are ready.
We're good.
Okay. Call the meeting back to order. Pull up my agenda. That's pretty much everything in IT. We talked about a lot of stuff, unless Jim has something to talk about.
Justin, there was one more thing on IT. We need a phone number on the website. I took the phone number off because it's not going to any monitored box of any kind.
Yes, good idea. We had an angry person that they didn't get a response who said that they would no longer donate because of it. So that's a good idea.
Yep. Yeah, that in part ties into CRM conversations, so we'll cover some of that on the 10th. Details there
Yeah.
as far as what we replace it with, but not listing it is better in the meantime. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you guys, I think before you came back, Ken is available pretty much anytime, but Jim and Ken decided that they would both be available on the 10th in the evening at some point. So that seems like the day that we're going to have like a CRM, like an actual in-depth view of what the CRM looks like. He can share his screen, answer more questions and stuff. And I think the idea was to try to keep it limited to the decision makers rather than open it up to a ton of people. That way the right questions and answers can be found.
Okay. So when you say decision makers, that just means XCOM.
People in XCOM and directors and people that are going to have to directly be involved with it would be my suggestion.
Nope, that makes sense.
All right, so that should be everything for IT. That'll take us to the 2022 convention update. We are pretty much done with everything. We have our menu pretty much finalized. The catering director for the hotel is on a week-long training this past week. So I haven't talked to her about actually putting in the menu yet. The menu is done. We've had several meetings about it on the committee. And I just need to talk to her to get it actually finalized, and then we'll go from there. We are in contact with our top 2 speakers. One of them who has outright accepted, Donald Rainwater has accepted on any day. And then I am waiting on Justin Amash's representative to get back to me. He accepted pending him being free that weekend. Hopefully I'll hear back from Justin's assistant here soon, and we will lock in those 2 speakers. The plan would be tentatively to have Amash be the keynote on Saturday, and then Donald Rainwater do the VIP event on Friday, the smaller dinner. So those would be our top 2 speakers, and then we'll go from there if we want to have anybody else speak, but that should pretty much cover all of our speaking slots since there's going to be more business this time since it's a convention and not a conference. Other than
There was
that,
some talk about also was there Sunday as LNC debate day, right? Like not as invited speaker.
once we get the ticket prices finalized, which will happen as soon as we know what it's going to cost us for the food. I'm going to do some negotiations with the hotel, see if we can get the admin fee knocked down a little bit. As soon as that's done, we already have ballpark ticket prices. As soon as we get the final actual price for food, we'll be able to lock in those prices, and then we can get a page up on the website to sell tickets. And then at that time is when I will invite, or at least let people know. I'll probably put it on the LNC business list and maybe post it in some of the other LP groups that, hey, it's an open invitation for people to come on Sunday if they would like to address the delegates. And it'll be open to people who Ohio people can vote for specifically. So anybody running that wants to run Region 3, rep or alternate, anybody that wants to run as an officer or an at-large, that, you know, we kind of pointless. I mean, they're more than welcome to come, but we're not going to have them speak. You know, if say Region 2 wants to come, that's fine. They're more than welcome to come, but we're not gonna give them a speaking slot because it's kind of pointless.
That Mr. Chair, that actually brings up a question for Mr. Cavoli. We're going to be having to move on getting the ticket page up pretty fast since convention is less than 2 months, or a little less than 3 months away.
Yes.
With the information, will you be able to do that rather expediently? Or is there anyone else that can build the page?
Yeah, literally anybody can go in and put the event in, even ticketed. You can build that out. It's really not too complicated. I mean, I'm happy to get some placeholder in place. The only things we need are dates, pricing, and then we can start selling those tickets. So, you know, we can take that out to other channels, but happy to get that moving.
Okay. So yeah, that's the status of the convention. Pretty much fully planned. We just are waiting on a couple of the pieces. Like I said, the caterer was out last week on a week-long training, and then we're waiting on Amash's representative to get back to us to know that he's for sure coming, and then we're good to go. If for some reason Representative Amash is not able to attend, we will go. We have a list of preferred speakers. We will go back and hit up our next one. And we'll probably move Rainwater into the keynote slot, and then whoever the next person is will slide into Friday. So we're good to go on that. And then after that, once tickets are out and all that stuff, that'll be pretty much it. The convention will be pretty much fully planned, and we'll just be promoting it at that point.
Dustin, would you agree that once we know who's speaking Saturday night, we can go ahead and get tickets up? If we have to put a to be announced for the Friday night on the page temporarily, that'd be okay?
I just want to make sure that we get the right profit margins for food. I want to make sure that we're going to get some sort of discount on the food. I'm fairly confident that they were going to give us a discount based on my previous conversation with the caterer when I told her what our general plan was minus alcohol. But I don't want to put a specific price up there and then find out that, we're not making any money because they didn't give us a discount. But I mean, I said,
I'm saying after that's decided, but if we're waiting on a speaker for Friday, if Amash can't make it and we move Rainwater to Saturday, but we already have the catering information all done, we can put tickets up while we're waiting to determine a Friday speaker, is what I'm saying.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, I think that would be the move.
Dustin, one question about kind of the alcohol. Remember we talked about this briefly. You are against any group having a hospitality room at the convention and providing alcohol since there's a minimum number of drinks to purchase, correct?
Well, first of all, that would be against hotel policy, so I would prefer that they did not. We can't completely stop people from doing what they want to do. The plan right now, unless something changes, is to have at least 2 bottles of wine at every table at the Friday event, so people could pour their own. Probably do 1 red, 1 white, and then there will be a cash bar on Saturday, and the party will be paying the setup fee and the bartender and the cashier fee and all that stuff. And all you'll have to do is show up and pay for your own alcohol from the cash bar. But it'll be, I think the setup is 1 to 3 hours. We will probably do somewhere closer to 2. And the plan was to have that cash bar during the speaking event that evening and during the dinner, which would be when Amash is speaking. So, you know, there's going to be alcohol on site. All of the alcohol that we sell from the cash bar goes towards our food and bev minimum. I don't think we're in danger of not hitting our minimum, but the more we spend with the hotel, the more I can promise them, the better deal we can probably get in terms of the admin fee, which is what I'm trying to negotiate down with them.
Okay, no, I'm just making sure Franklin County's hosted a hospitality room in the past, and I'm wanting to. It sounded previously talked. It sounded like it wouldn't make sense this year, and now you're confirming it does not make sense. So there's something else that you would think would be fun. Feel free to recommend it.
Yeah, the gist of it is that we paid for a cash bar for the conference, and nobody got alcohol from it because there was free alcohol on site because one of the counties decided to bring alcohol in. I'm sure people are going to do what they want to do, but it would be beneficial if it wasn't like a sanctioned event by a county. Yes, that is the gist of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other comments, questions, concerns about convention? Because that's pretty much the update.
Well, it seems to be going well.
Yeah, we're very excited. I think this is going to be our best lineup of speakers in recent memory, if not ever. Those of you not familiar with Mr. Rainwater, he did extremely well, especially for a Libertarian in the gubernatorial race in Indiana. And obviously, everybody on the call should be familiar with Representative Amash. So without any other comments, questions, or concerns, that'll take us to 2022 Constitution and Bylaws. And I'll let Derek take a crack at that one because he's our chair on that one.
Yeah, we managed to whip through some pretty good changes in a relatively short period of time. I'm working on putting together the final report to present to the bodies at large. While I'm working on the report, I did remember one change I wanted to propose to the committee that has been proposed in chat. I'm allowing a comment period before we take a vote, but I'm pretty confident that these changes, most of them, will probably be approved by the delegates hopefully without too much debate. Membership is always a sticking point, and there's changes there. There's changes to the 315 process for disciplining a member. A few other minor changes and corrections. We got rid of the development group section as that we no longer have a development groups system in place, stuff like that. But when I get the report finalized and put out, I'll be happy to field any questions directly. I think that's all I've got, Dustin.
Cool. And I just wanted to add one thing, since I'm also on the committee. If correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure every single proposal passed unanimously out of the committee, which is the first time I can ever remember that happening.
That's correct. We did not have a single split vote.
So yeah, I think, like he said, all the changes are going to be pretty well received for the most part by the delegates, and I'm really excited. Questions, comments, concerns for Derek or myself about that committee?
Just commendations for the work that was done there. This committee has been as impressive as any I have seen ever take on that work, and all deserve some serious praise for that. And Derek especially for taking point on it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Derek deserves a lot of recognition for a lot of the stuff he does, but definitely this committee was, as you said, one of the best that I've seen. We blew through it. I mean, we finished. Gosh, when did we've technically been done for what, like 2 months now, something like that, before Christmas.
Yeah, the end of December.
Yeah, so good stuff all around.
Yeah, it was fun. Honestly, I would accept the duty again in 2 years if I'm still around and people want me to do it.
I would be happy to have you do it. Okay, so sounds like we're wrapped up on Constitution and bylaws. That takes us to old business, which we
Actually,
did not have any of.
One
Nope.
fast question, Constitution and bylaws. This
Yep.
is more a curiosity question. I remember there was talk that groups outside of that committee could still submit change requests to the Constitution or bylaws.
Yeah.
What is the process for that exactly?
So it's laid out in our Constitution bylaws currently. I believe that you have to submit the request in writing. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, Derek. 30 days previous to the convention, I believe, is the cutoff.
If they want to present something outside of the scope of the committee, yes, it's a 30-day period prior to convention has to be submitted. We did also have an email address set up that if you wanted to make suggestions directly to the committee to be included in this package for our consideration, that was also an option that was published, and we didn't receive any. So the committee just went with what we thought was important.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're more than welcome to still submit things to Derek or myself. Would probably be the best, Derek being the chair, and me being the vice chair of that committee. And we're still, the final report's not completely built yet. So if there's anything that you have already written up that you want to run by us, things that come from the committee themselves are far more likely to pass than something that just comes up on the floor from membership. So,
Correct.
But you have the absolute right to not do that if you want to just bring it forth.
Jim, the address I think was CBC 2022, right? Constitution Bylaw Committee 2022 at LPO.org.
That sounds right. I remember some joke about the Columbus Brewing Company in my head.
Forwards to
Sorry, give that address one more time.
Well, you can just email me directly if you
Okay.
want. That address forwarded to me. We just made that a public address so we could delete it. So I wasn't
yeah.
going to put a spam mention.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
So we also have to have our report presented 30 days prior. So we have, I think, 2 months to make any potential changes, or less than 2 months. But if you want to get something to me in the next week, I'll throw it into the committee for consideration.
Cool. All right. So, as I was saying previously, we did not have any old business carried over from the previous meeting since we passed our budget between meetings. There was a couple of items of new business that were brought to my attention through various channels of communication. One of them being affiliation of Trumbull County. And let me pull up the officers' names real quick. It would be under Chair Kennedy Edwards, Ghislaine Martin as Secretary, and Eric Edwards as Treasurer. And they're seeking a confirmation of affiliation from the Executive Committee. So if there's any discussion about that, let's have that now. Otherwise, I will accept a motion in a second.
Have we received their Constitution bylaw document and all that fun stuff yet?
I have not. I'm assuming Helen did. Like she's the one that
I
mentioned this to
will
me.
confirm that I have it. I'm pretty sure I did, but because I know I sent them the document for their meeting, so let me just make sure. If not, I know I can get it fairly quickly because both Kennedy and Ghislaine are very responsive.
Kennedy asked me, and I told her to send it to you, Helen. So I think you should already have it.
Yeah, and I just comment that I've also worked with Kennedy, and she's been great to work with, so we'd be in favor of this.
I searched for her.
That's
but
the last
I
dotting
can't.
of the I. We need the
I'll just
officers.
drop in chat and have her upload it there.
Any other discussion?
Helen, did you say you have it?
You're so used to running the meeting. Stop it.
Ms. Gilson, did you say you had it, or you're having them send it in?
I just realized I'm exactly the same house.
ID.
Another slightly different. I thought we had exactly the same.
Ms. Gilson?
Sir, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I thought maybe that we lost audio at the office. Did you say you had it? I didn't catch that.
I'm dropping into Rocket Chat and asking her to upload the PDF there, just to make sure we have it.
Okay. While we're waiting for that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to assume it exists and affiliate them yet. Maybe they'll respond in the next
I
few
think it's
minutes.
safe. I really do. I think it's safe, Dustin.
Well, let's give them a couple minutes, and then I'll decide what I want to do with it. I think obviously you guys are free to make a motion in a second, regardless. But there was another county that was mentioned that did not make it onto the agenda that I wanted to mention briefly. Summit County, yeah. I'm not sure. I thought maybe we affiliated them already, but I could be wrong. It's hard to keep track. There's a lot of counties in the state. So
I don't think that they did, but let me check the spreadsheet. Because they're one of 2 counties, I believe, that are meeting as a conjoined. Let me verify.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm actually on Summit County. So I know we sent you our stuff. We met back a couple months ago actually and did the Constitution and voted officers. So I sent you all that a while back, but I
Okay.
just was following up to make sure. I didn't know if it had made it this far and got brought up in this kind of meeting.
If you
Yeah,
send
that would be
it, it might be right. We might have already voted then.
Where did you send it and when? Do you know?
I definitely have theirs from Derek.
Yeah, I sent it to Helen maybe at the end of November or beginning of December. And
Maybe we did do it then.
what was your other question?
Well,
Just
If they
when?
send it early,
Yeah, just
have
if
an
you.
official-
we booted them on
Yeah.
Rocket
So-
Chat then, if anything.
I sent it to Field and to Helen.
Okay.
I got
maybe we
that
did.
one.
If
I
not,
got that on August 30th. That's how
Okay.
long ago it was.
I want to say we did it already, but I'm not positive. If we figure out that we didn't do it, we can do it real quick between meetings on Rocket Chat.
Okay.
So.
I think we.
Unfortunately, back in that period of time was when we lost Miss Flower, and I don't know if we have minutes for those meetings.
Yeah, there should be a recording. I would hesitate to want to have to go watch the whole thing again, but we'll get it figured out regardless.
Do we want to move to accept it just as a formality in case?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Somebody wants to give a motion, and somebody
I'll move Summit County affiliation.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second. Okay, one second. Let me write this down. I'm a slow secretary. Who motioned? I know I seconded.
We did vote on this already.
Okay,
Okay, well then, never mind.
perfect. Makes it way easier.
Yep, Summit County's done. I will entertain a motion for Trumbull County. And here's how I would prefer it to be worded. I don't like to make motions as the chair, but if somebody would like to make a motion that is to the effect of we affiliate Trumbull County under the assumption, or how do I guess I should have thought about this before.
So here, I'll say it. So I'm going to make a motion that we affiliate Trumbull County contingent on having received their Constitution and bylaws.
Correct. Upon receipt of Constitution and bylaws, with the aforementioned officers, Kennedy Edwards as chair, Ghislaine Martin as secretary, and Eric Edwards as treasurer.
I'll second
So let me
it.
write this down. Give me a sec. So let's see. Trumbull County. So this is Trumbull County to be affiliated on receipt of their bylaws, Constitution and bylaws. If the officers are the same that they said they were earlier, is that what you're saying? Or
I've confirmed the officers already with them.
okay,
Yeah, I wanted to name them in the motion so that it's obvious that that's who it is. Not that I think it would happen, but just in case some other group of 3 was like, no, it was us. You never know. That's happening a lot nowadays.
So Kennedy Edwards and who else? Or should I just say Kennedy and just and
Uh,
others?
I pasted it in
Uh,
Rocket Chat, so
oh,
you
okay.
can pick it up in there.
Perfect.
Kennedy Edwards as chair, Ghislaine Martin as secretary, Eric Edwards as treasurer.
Like I said, I'm not a fast typist.
Neither am I. That's why I'm not treasurer, or not secretary, rather, of anything ever. There was a point in time when I was a faster typer when we had this class called Tech Education when I was in high school. And we used to type every day, and I had gotten pretty quick, but I've since slowed way down.
I'll also just keep switching keyboard all the time, so.
Did I hear correctly that that motion had been seconded already?
Yes. Straight
All right.
second.
Just I don't care how it's organized. Just Mr. Vice Chair would request a roll call vote on this, despite the lack of a particular rule to that effect, as has been customary on the other affiliation votes.
You're requesting a roll call vote? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's definitely within your rights as a member of the board.
Okay, I'm going to go through the roll call. Jim, are you present or not?
I was not at the beginning of the meeting. I joined partway through Ken's thing, and I am currently present.
Okay, now I'll count you. So, Jim Cavoli.
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. John's still not here. Chris is not here. Dustin Anna.
Yes.
Derek Strello.
Aye.
Derek Tafe.
Aye.
And Drake Lundstrom votes aye. Yay, they're a county.
Yes,
That puts us at
congratulations to them. 5 or 6 or something like that.
Dustin, you're a few short.
In jest, a naming contest, Lucas County is the only really affiliate. The chair of Lucas County welcomes Trumbull County to affiliation.
So I have at least 12. I'm
Yeah.
still updating.
That's what I thought.
Delaware
Yes,
does
Delaware
not exist.
is not anymore.
Yeah, Delaware does not exist
Oh, wait,
anymore.
no, more than that. I forgot. I get it.
Well, good. I'm happy to be wrong in that way.
We are very close to being a quarter of the way there.
Very good. Sounds like the changes we made were positive then in terms of affiliation.
I have.
Did and then can't.
If you'd indulge me, I have a very quick question for Ms. Gilson. The directors' meetings, are those actually happening at 10 p.m.?
And
No.
Okay, 'cause that's the time on the invites that I got, and I've not been free or functional at
What
that
time
time.
zone is your computer set to?
The computer set to Eastern. Your WebEx account may be set to Pacific or something else.
Okay,
Not sure,
I will
but
check on that.
yeah, if you could clear that up, I would like to attend in the near future, in part to field some of the details on affiliates generally. So
Okay.
thanks.
Yes. So Jim, do you have a minute? Can we interrupt the agenda, Dustin, to talk to Jim about a couple of things while we have him?
What?
If it's all right, I would discourage us from disrupting the agenda. We are almost out of the agenda anyway. I'm happy to
Okay.
take some time following if we need.
That would probably be even more appropriate.
Okay. That would take us to field division consideration. It was brought to my attention that some members feel that it might be beneficial to at least explore this topic. So let's have at it. We previously had a field division. For those of you that are aware, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the meeting. Their responsibilities in the past essentially were to cultivate county development groups and help them become affiliates. And then once they became affiliates, they kind of did their own thing. The way I personally would envision it, if we brought it back, would be obviously a little different now that we don't have development groups. It would be more so to cultivate groups of people in counties to become affiliates and then help them maintain their affiliate status. That would be my interpretation of it, but anybody else is free to agree or disagree. And I think it's important that we talk about this because I think we're at a period where if we're going to have, as Ms. Gilson said, nearly a quarter of the counties affiliated, we probably do need some sort of a support system for them. And the previous system or the current system doesn't really seem to jive with the way it's set up now that we've changed things.
With that being said, I'll just for the sake of clarification and in discussion here, remind everyone the applicable bylaw is 310. Gets into the fact that it's ultimately my decision to create the new division if we decided to do that with the consent of the executive committee. Technically, the order of that is I'm supposed to present a vision. However, if the executive committee were to express their consent for a particular vision, I would certainly take that one up under consideration first. So just to be clear about the sort of mechanics of how this will go, and if we want to change something, what needs to happen.
We still have the 5 regional liaisons in place, but I'm not sure that is
We don't
really.
actually.
Yeah. So where would I find out who they even were? 'Cause I'm not
They're
sure.
not.
Okay.
We don't have.
Yeah,
Hold on. The positions aren't filled, but I believe they're still on the job board. I think the positions still exist. But the thing is, if we wind up with a bunch of affiliation in the middle of the state, that doesn't help because that's one person handling 2/3 of our affiliates. I think maybe we should look at something a little more fluid.
Well, I think there's a question of kind of what are you trying to do? What is the goal? If this is like creating training materials or doing Zoom meetings or stuff, doesn't really matter where you are. If this is like coming out to in-person events and like volunteering, supporting, then yeah, you want to be regional. And honestly, like if we eventually have 88 or anything approaching that, I would rather have something electronic and systematic. And if someone wants other extra help, reach out, we'll figure something out. But I would prefer something automated where distance doesn't matter because I don't want to add on a bunch of driving. There are much more valuable things volunteers can do than drive places.
Right.
Well, originally the position was to help create affiliates so that no one in XCOM or, for that matter, a field development director wasn't inundated with the potential of 88 counties trying to do it all at one time.
Yeah, and if I could jump in, I think again, my vision for the position, ultimately it would be up to Jim, but my vision for the description would be that they would be the director as a true director and be able to create positions underneath them to help them manage these counties. So like it would probably be advantageous for us to, similar to how Brianna is building out her communications team, to name a director and say, here's all of the responsibilities. We would like you to build out a team to help you achieve that. So like let's imagine I was field director, what I would do personally is I would immediately recruit people in these regions to help me with these different places. And then if a county in Southeast Ohio decided they wanted to become an affiliate, it would then become their responsibility to help them directly on the ground and go to the events that they're close to. And then they would report back up to me. And then you would handle the higher level stuff. But I don't want to hamstring them too much with a super specific job description, if that makes sense, and force them to do things a certain way. I think it's better when we give people kind of an overview of what we want done and then let them organize their division how they see fit.
Well, I wonder in the short term if that position, instead of being a full director, could fall under either political or membership as a like a assistant director type position. Maybe under Helen at this point. And then as more affiliates grow, we bring more people in and then name one of them as a director. But right now, I think they could just assist Helen.
I mean, ultimately, I guess that would be up to Helen. I think, I think that it's a job that's big enough that it could have its own division. But I mean, either way, somebody needs to be doing the job. That's what I'll say.
Yeah,
I don't think it really fits under political because that's more of a actual campaign stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that the problems described fit nicely within the remit of any of the existing divisions, which is, I mean, good and bad. I mean, it just kind of is what it is, and I tend to agree with Mr. Nana as well that should we go ahead and put a staff responsibility on this, that would be dedicated to this function. I think already at the number of affiliates we have, just going off of the number of direct requests that make their way to myself and to Helen and a few other people, that it's definitely enough for at least a person to spend their focused role on. Presently, these operations are all kind of stuffed ambiguously between divisions and the deputy vice chair's office, and it's just, yeah. I mean, happy problem. The streamlining worked. Now we have the support thing to figure out, right? I anticipated this coming up. I'm glad that it has. I'm glad that we have enough affiliates that we need to come up with better ways to support them. But I think in so doing, it would behoove us to not underplay how much effort that will take. That's it.
Yeah.
So the issue I'm going to say is, do we have a volunteer willing to take on all of that responsibility at this point?
Probably not immediately, but I think the first step to that would is creating the position and getting the information out there. And then, again, emphasizing to them that you're not expected to do all of this on day one. You do as much as you can and you build out your team.
So would this be director of county affiliates or something like that? Would that be?
I think that the best title for them might not be field director. It might be something more like development director or something like that.
Development usually is associated with financial donations. So that maybe affiliate support kind of along the lines that LNC uses.
I'd say something for affiliates. I don't know what the support sounds good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter what we call it. But... Yeah, but we do.
Sorry,
but
that didn't come through clearly. What did you? Could you repeat that one more time? That was a little garbled.
Who are you speaking to?
I don't actually know. Maybe people were talking over each other. All I know is that we said something, and then I just heard white noise back, and I wasn't sure what was said.
I think it was.
Well, let's decide the scope. Is this person going to be helping affiliate, or is this person going to be supporting affiliates? I think that's two different roles.
I think, well, the division itself, again, in my opinion, would be doing both. But, it's like you said, one person's not going to be able to do all that. They're going to have to build a team out.
I think that as it stands right now, Helen is supporting to affiliate. So while that shouldn't end up all with Helen at the end of the day, I think that we're creating a position to support affiliates for the next step, not building one for the affiliation process. Is that your intent, or do you want there to be a division?
Well,
I know you'd rather not do it, but my understanding right now is we have step 0 to 1. It exists, and it's too much work on one person. We should give Helen more support, but that exists. And right now, there is no steps 1 through 4. There is no support for an affiliate on how to fundraise, how to set up emails, how to set up events, like all that stuff. Like those materials don't exist at all. So that's my understanding, is that's the pressing need that we're looking at for all the affiliates that are currently existing. And then maybe we should just set up a second committee around Helen for the affiliation process itself. But that's not what we're talking about here. And hopefully long term, affiliates all exist. We're just supporting them. So if anything, that'd be like a temporary committee.
Can I just add something real quick? I think we should have as few committees as possible and just have subcommittees under them or subdivisions under them rather than creating separate committees for all of these different things. If they're similar in nature, then they should probably go together in some shape, way, or form. That's just my take on it, though.
No, I would tend to agree with that opinion, that committees are often places where things go to die. So
Yeah. And I'm just like, I wouldn't say taking notes here, but I'm thinking about like what do we need, right? We need loosely field membership outreach. We don't have like different people doing these things. Events, affiliate development, and/or affiliation, and volunteer coordination. We kind of have Helen doing like a mishmash of those things. I think they're similar enough that they could all go into a single committee with subdivisions. But that's just my take on it.
yeah, well, and you've stumbled upon the reason why we got rid of it in the first place, because it's dancing such a fine line between it being its own thing or splitting it out into all the other groups. I mean, we could easily say, okay, well, Drake, you handle all the financial stuff because you're finance director, and we could easily say, you know, Brianna, you handle all of the communication stuff because you're communications director. But I think what we're finding is that communications and finance are big enough jobs on their own that it's kind of unfair to force all that on you on top of what you're already doing for the state. At least that's how I feel about it. You know, you guys are busy putting out your teams and helping the state. You shouldn't have to worry about specifically county stuff. So, you know, I think we need somebody that is just doing county stuff. And then, you know, of course, they can always go back to you guys for advice and help and you know, stuff like that. But there should be a single person with their own team of people that's doing specifically stuff to cultivate county growth and maintaining affiliates and you know, growing this from the bottom.
That's
Okay, so-
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we should have a field committee or a field division with subgroups under that, and have like affiliate support and development under the field division is what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would envision it. Like I said, we want to let them build out their team. We can't just tell one person, hey, this is your job.
Yeah.
So in the ideal world, then the people in that division, let's say it's the person who supports existing affiliates. If that affiliate needs help with fundraising, then they would point them maybe to our finance department division to help with fundraising. If it's membership, they go to the membership division, that type of thing. So it would almost be like
There isn't a
traffic
membership
cop.
division.
Yeah.
So
That should probably
Yeah.
be its own thing.
although I guess I have had a slightly different vision of it, that maybe they're probably pretty similar. What I thought was kind of have affiliate support, and then within that have affiliation process, have affiliate trainer, and then have affiliate communications, and affiliate like membership, or like kind of within that. But at least in my mind, the state shouldn't be the one, like, if we have it as a field division and then like affiliation is a part of that, that's kind of saying the state's doing stuff and then occasionally we're helping out affiliates, where in my mind more the affiliates are doing stuff and the state's supporting them. Like it's kind of a more bottom up for how events are done, although this might just be pedantic nonsense.
That's actually
I'm very pedantic.
we need a liaison between the affiliates or soon to be affiliates and the state, who can then help the affiliates, soon to be affiliates, get to the correct resources from the state that they need.
Yes.
Well, yeah, in an idea. Go ahead.
I would say, in my kind of vision, would be that all of these field resources would be primarily targeted at the affiliate and not really, and the affiliates not really outside of that. like that we wouldn't have a membership director that wasn't like an helping affiliates get membership director. That makes sense. Which is not that different,
No, but
it's different.
the state membership coordinator, when if I was in Wood County and I came to the membership coordinator and said, hey, I want to affiliate Wood County, the membership director of the state would help them navigate the CRM to find people in Wood County to communicate with to maybe start that affiliate. You know what I mean? That they're going to pull state resources, but we need one central gatekeeper to work specifically with the affiliates to facilitate them getting the correct direction.
Right. The idea
Yes.
would be to build them up to a point and help them to a point where we no longer have to. That would be the goal, obviously, right? I would envision it. I would envision it as a director who has an affiliate support person under them, and then probably adjacent on the org tree to the left of them would be somebody who's helping people affiliate. I don't know, whatever you want to call that person. And then underneath the affiliate support person that's underneath the director would be regionals that help each region that, you know, report back up the tree. And then underneath the people who, you know, underneath the broad person who helps affiliate all the counties might be, you know, somebody who's responsible for finding members, somebody who's responsible for, you know, telling people where, you know, the best place to meet would be, whatever. But, you know, this is probably years down the road, but that would be how I would structure it if I was the director. But I don't want to hamstring them and be like, here's what you have to do. I think it's going to work best if we just say, here's all of the goals. You're the director, build your team.
Yeah, I would love to get to the point where we have 66 county affiliates that are humming along on their own, and then this person just becomes a liaison when they have an issue with the state or something. Instead of them contacting the chair or them contacting XCOM or CENTCOM, they go through this person and it gets its resolution or whatever. But right now,
and as a part of that director report would be, hey, this county wants to affiliate, and they bring it to the XCOM, and then we vote.
Yes. But I don't think we have the staff to fill out such a broad tree. And I think,
but I'm confident that if we name a person and give them a goal or several goals, that they could build it out. I mean, we're already seeing it in communications, especially where, you know, Ms. Coyle has taken the initiative to fill out her tree on her own. You know, I think, you know, rather than tell her exactly what she has to do, we've just told her what needs to be done, and she's doing it herself. She realizes, obviously, that you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. That's not possible, you know, so you need help, you know. So she's talking about doing these things like making a Discord to onboard people, you know, finding all different people, you know, for Facebook, you know, using Discord, maybe a sub Discord, I don't even know what they call it. It's been a long time since I've been on Discord, but like a room on Discord that's specifically for content creation or whatnot. So I think let's give them the broad vision and then let them tackle it. I mean, obviously this is ultimately going to be up to Jim, but I think, you know, these are the marching orders, I suppose you would call them, that we would give to him to say, hey, create this group with these different goals, and then let's start finding people that are interested in it.
Yeah, to that end, I would say I think there's been a lot of good conversation here and ideas. If there is some minimal framework which is compatible to at least the majority of the committee to offer their assent for, I would encourage the group to move that, and then I can work either within that or you know, we can determine when the formal motion would come up, if they're compatible with each other, if we need to kind of recertify that. Either way, there will be a further vote before this would happen.
Just for the end of the discussion, I'm going to suggest that we suggest, Mr. Chair, to create a position of a director of affiliate coordination, and that way we can find one motivated volunteer with the understanding that their job will be finding people to work under them to both affiliate new counties and to support existing ones, as long as they need support. And that can grow or shrink as necessary. But if Jim creates the director position and we all agree with it, let's start there.
I see Ms. Gilson had her hand up. Do you still have a question?
I do, not necessarily a question, but
I asked for this to be added to the agenda. I'm currently dealing with the affiliates, and I've been the field development director in the past. So I'd kind of like to give my perspective if I can.
Yes, please.
We had a whole division with volunteer coordinators and regional people and, infrastructure. We took that away and made me the deputy vice chair, and my marching orders was to make affiliates. So then all of the divisions directors disappeared, and the vice chair disappeared, and the chair got busy. So I felt kind of by myself and struggling through getting these affiliates started. So that's where I'm coming from. We won't get 66 affiliates just on me trying to tread water. We need to do something. I would like to do something similar to what the old field development division was, whatever you want to call it, because it wasn't just CDGs. It was also coordinating volunteers, funneling them, getting them activated and engaged into the counties, and getting the things like the primary that we have to do on our own time and dime. That was coordinated mainly by Tim Smith in the field division. So, there were other things the field development division did other than just CDGs.
CDG's county.
Development.
Yeah.
If and
With
I would
on board,
Go
we
ahead.
had Chris Armstrong, and he was coordinating the affiliation process. And we had Mama Mac was doing most of the volunteer coordination. That's the most familiar with that whole process as I am. And at that point, I think we had 4 affiliates. So I don't know if the structure as we had it exactly worked, but I agree we need to start with some structure.
Part of us only having 4 affiliates was that it was so difficult to become an affiliate. I think that was a big piece of it.
Right, but we got rid of county development groups as a whole, because the process got simpler. So that's why I'm thinking if we can create a position right now with someone who would want to handle volunteers and would want to handle affiliates, create a field division again. But I think we could work on the further downline structure later. Let's try to find a body that wants the job first.
So it sounds like
this-
part of what Helen, but it sounds like part of what Helen's saying is that it sounds like you're saying that there are a lot of roles that need filled besides just the county support that right now are going vacant that used to be the field development.
Right.
Okay. Are you good with how it used to be directly?
So, Derek, part of the problem is if we create those other roles and had bodies, and we probably do have bodies because we have more volunteers than we can keep up with right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact. We could build much faster if we had better infrastructure, people-wise, in places. The problem is, who are they going to report to? They can't all report to Jim. We are struggling just with our size of our group of people to reach Jim. They can't all just come under one person. It has to flatten out. We have to have more infrastructure.
Well, yeah, and I think I agree with what Helen has said, and I also agree with what other people have said, that we need to get somebody in place as the director and then let them do this. I think we could sit here and talk about all day what it looks like, but at the end of the day, we need to just do it. And I think she's right that it is more than just county support. The field development director, county support might, like I had kind of said earlier with my tree example, that might be a deputy director's job, or one of the positions right underneath the director who does the county stuff. And then maybe under that county person is an affiliate person and a person who works on growing affiliates or cultivating them. But is it your opinion, Ms. Gilson, that if we create this position and put somebody as a director and tell them to go build out their team, that would be effective? I mean, you're the one that's the most familiar with this process.
I guess that would depend on the person that you put in that position. If you give them some idea of what you want, I mean, like Brianna, she's used to doing communication, so she needed very little direction on how to build a communications team. So, you know,
Well, do you? Well, I mean, I hate to ask because you do a lot already, but is this something that you would have the bandwidth for? I know you're kind of already doing it. Would you be able or willing or have the time to build out a team and maybe even step aside at that point and we find a different director? Or do you think, or you know, I would be happy to have you in the position in perpetuity, but
We can try to.
everybody, you know, I know you do a lot already. So, but then again, on the other hand, you're already kind of doing it all yourself, or at least trying to.
I would like to have someone that I can make sure is following up with volunteers other than me, because if you want me to deal with the affiliates and getting them on, I can't be the volunteer coordinator as well as the IT director, as well as the, you know, there is no IT director, but I'm acting as the person in the background that's pedaling very
My
fast.
question was, I thought that we had someone apply for volunteer director.
Recently, in the last month, we've had someone volunteer.
Yeah.
I have a couple of messages that they haven't followed up on yet, so I have to.
Volunteer director said, what does that fall under?
It doesn't. That's the thing. There's no place for that. I recruited them without the authority.
Okay.
You know, I went Libertarian and just said, guess what? You're a volunteer coordinator. Do you want any title?
I'm going to make a motion to create a field committee. Well, I don't work out more wording first. Field committee.
I don't like committees.
I'm going to make an
Division.
organization that's going to have
A field
volunteer
director.
under it. What do you want it called, Helen? Dustin, give me a name.
Two things, Mr. Lundstrom. You, if you want this motion to come through without being out of order, it would be to authorize the chair to.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Yes, the
Yeah,
chair.
to create a such and such division with such and such a vision, and that would be it. The division itself will necessarily imply a director and some open structure for deputies and what have you, all generally under the director's authority with the chair's veto and this committee's ultimate ability to revoke the division with the chair's consent in the future. This is all bylaw 310.
Yeah, we might be able to save time.
But before such a motion is entered, Ms. Gilson, could I ask that you make a rudimentary list of the responsibilities that you are currently handling that you believe should be under this division that we could use to recruit a volunteer to head this division once the chair creates it?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. I might be able to save us all some time. Mr. Gavoli, do you really need this direction, or are you just going to do it?
Well,
'Cause
I'll
if
say
you're just
this:
planning on
either in either case, I need the executive committee's consent to create the division itself. However, after that point, then it's pretty open on the management. So, if the two things that are required are the committee's consent and a particular vision, I'm not going to get hung up on who presented that vision if we're all agreeing to it. So. If that's the case, then I would be happy to follow through there. Otherwise, if we do nothing at this point, it would be my intent to shortly, possibly even between meetings, present such a vision and seek the committee's consent to create a division to cover at least some of these things which have been discussed, possibly pending some of that additional information that Ms. Gilson said she would kind of call out and report to the group.
Okay. I guess the question is, do we need to wait for Ms. Gilson to give us goals before we do this, or do you feel?
I feel we can do it in
Yeah.
between business, through chat.
Let's
Are
just
you
do
talking
that then.
about working out the details of how it functions? Because I think that we could give the overall permission to have something created now and then work out the exact details later. Just so
I will say two things in that, if I may.
Mhm.
If this body authorizes the creation of a division, it may
Yes.
do very little dictating of how that division operates in the future, at least while I'm in between this body and that division. Recommendations are always appropriate, but a lot of the operational details are going to be at that director's discretion. There is similarly little ability to dictate how things are done with some of the, like if it was created as a committee, although there could be more. I would shy away from being that specific in general, other than like the requirement to create a division is to have a vision for it. And to the extent that we can agree that, you know, the vision is X, Y, or Z, the only reason I say that we might want to wait a minute on this and move it between meetings is because there seems to be one or two pieces of what is in that vision or not to say, you know, that they are responsible for, I think everyone generally agrees this division would be responsible for being a point of contact for Q&A and facilitating the affiliation process for yet unaffiliated areas, and there seems to be some agreement that this division would provide some form of ongoing support to affiliated counties specifically, and interface with those bodies. Outside of those responsibilities, there seems to be a little bit around the edges that maybe we need to include in there or not. But if we phrase it quite so broadly to say, you know, to facilitate and support the affiliation process and operations of affiliated counties, as a new division in general to be named, that would likely suffice, and then I could just act upon that in the coming couple weeks. Otherwise, I would move this tabled to between meetings business and let it be taken up shortly and have out the discussion somewhere where it's a little easier and on everyone's time and sanity. So
I would like to suggest then that Ms. Gilson in the next maybe 2 weeks provide the list of the responsibilities that she feels should fall under this division that she would like to hand off, and we discuss between meeting business. And then I would like to, I guess, move that we add a discussion to the agenda of the next meeting on this specific topic to hammer it out, finalize it, and vote on it. Is that a motion or is that a suggestion to the chair to add that to the agenda?
that would be a motion to table this piece of new business to the next meeting, which
Yeah.
would be fine, and we can carry on whatever conversation in the meantime.
I moved to table this until the next meeting and to include between meeting discussion on this subject between now and then.
I think that might not be the motion you're looking for, because that would preclude us from passing any motions until the next meeting.
That's my point, though. I think we have the further discussion between meetings. We need the data from Helen before we actually vote on such a division.
Sure.
I think we give Jim some scope. That's my opinion, based on what he said.
Yeah.
I personally, Jim, you're fantastic at what you do, but your bandwidth is limited. I don't want to drop a very unilateral, open, wide thing on your lap. I think the committee could give you better direction once we have the information from Helen and some additional discussion.
Okay. So if it is your intention to table this until the next meeting, is there a second?
To table
Well,
a
I
vote
guess-
on this until yes.
Well, do we?
Second.
There's
Further
been a
discussion?
motion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes. It
Go ahead,
seems
Mr.
like
Lindstrom.
this is fairly urgently needed. I don't see why, even if we're going to wait on it and not do it now, why we couldn't work it out in chat.
We're going to have discussion in chat. This motion does not preclude that.
Yes,
My
but it does
motion is
preclude voting in chat.
I would like us to have to vote on it at the next meeting, which should technically be in a month or so. We're
I have a
supposed to meet monthly.
question.
Yes.
I thought that the chair had the authority to create the committee or not. So what would this vote even be on?
Well, so specific. if I may,
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Gaboli.
this would table the new business item of a field development division to the next meeting. Everyone should listen very carefully to what I'm saying. So this would table the new business item of a field development division to the next meeting. Damn it. And that would be pretty much it. The things that are required for myself to create a division is me expressing my intent to do so and the consent of the committee. So we do need both pieces to create a new division. I have to want to do it. The committee has to agree that I should. That goes for any division that might be created. Yeah.
And as Mr. Cavoli did say earlier, he would only entertain the idea if we give him direction. So for me, for the next month, in chat, once Helen provides what she wants to hand off as part of this division, we can hammer out details between meetings in chat. The next meeting, we'll have the details, and we'll vote on giving Mr. Cavoli the authorization to create a new division with the vision that we hammer out in chat.
So
That's
Derek,
what my
I
motion
think
is.
that I think my only disagreement here is that this meeting was supposed to happen in October, and then in November, and then in December, and then in January. And I would rather not limit us until waiting to our next. I agree with you that we should take the time to come up with a vision and present that to Jim and not leave all this work on his shoulders. I'm just disagreeing that there's any value in waiting until the next in-person meeting.
The
when we
value
could
in waiting.
do this, pass it in chat.
Okay, well. Okay, Helen, how long will you to come up with the list of things you want to hand off?
I'll have it before the end of this meeting because I'm already in all of the organizational documents are still out on the drive or on my computer. I've got since 2016 all of the field development documents that were ever generated. So
Yeah, so what would this be a proposal to amend the amendment to table this to
just be friendly.
the next? Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get better, Howard. I would just amend
You
the
want
amendment
to
to say table this to the next meeting or in chat, like either.
You want to amend my motion, table this to between meeting business. Is that what?
Well, hold on. I'm sorry to cut you off, but actually, then this is my fault. There's no debate on a motion to table, so I should not have allowed this debate.
Sorry, that's my bad.
It's my fault. I should have known that. I was just thinking about it while you guys were debating back and forth. So I'm gonna consider the debate done, even though we technically shouldn't have had any to begin with. And then people, vote your conscience. And then if I will preface this with, if you vote no on this, you can then bring it back up off the table. You can then vote to bring it off the table. If you vote yes to table this, you cannot bring it off the table. So there will be nothing we can do other than doing it at the next meeting.
Then I call the question. I guess.
Sorry.
Not have been debated to begin with.
So no, I mean the question's effectively called because there's no debate. So if the secretary would like to take roll on this.
Point of information, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying are the consequences of voting yes or no here. Can you just go over that one more time?
If you vote yes, if this motion passes unanimously, we cannot bring it off the table until we've decided to bring it off the table with the vote. If somebody votes no, they can vote to reconsider. They can make a motion to reconsider this. And it's not debatable. And it's not a
So if someone votes yes, we stop talking about it and we can't vote again until next meeting. If they vote no, we can figure out what we want to do.
Yeah, if one single person even, and I probably will plan to do this on purpose, votes no, that person can then vote to bring this off the table.
Okay, sounds good.
Motion to reconsider rather, and then we would all vote.
So roll call vote then. 1 sec to copy down my roll. Okay, Jim Cavoli,
Nope.
Dustin Manna,
No.
Derek Strello,
No.
Derek Tate,
No.
Drake Lundstrom, no. Perfect.
Gotta love
Very
I changed my vote.
Very confused.
Oh,
It made
so I
me
voted
laugh
yes.
too.
So this item is not tabled. I'm trying to think of how we can achieve what we want to achieve here.
Dustin, how
I-
would we go about just not voting about it, leaving it open?
Like this. Call for time on this business item, Mr. Chair.
But yes, I could. I'm saying we are over time. Is there a motion to extend time? Please say no.
I will move to extend time only for the remaining closing items on the agenda by 10 minutes.
Oh, yes, I'll
Seconded.
accept. Well, I meant on this item, but yes, I'll. Yeah. Okay. So I heard a motion.
Oh, if you
and a
meant on
second.
this item, then no, I would not like to extend time here. If you were talking about extending time for anything else, then I might, but no. I'll withdraw that.
Yeah. So, is there a motion to extend time on this item? I didn't hear anything. So this item is postponed till after business, either in between meetings or at the next meeting, whichever comes first.
What I was trying to ultimately achieve. Thank you.
My fault. Like I said, I should have been more on top of that. I wasn't thinking. So let me pull up the agenda again. Our next item of business is closing comments. The first is board comments and concerns. I'm not sure we'll have too many since we talked kind of underneath the different subjects about different stuff. This is your time as a at-large member that didn't get an officer report or whatever, or anybody really, to present a comment or a concern for the better of the body.
My only comment and concern is that we get back to having regular monthly meetings because we missed December and January.
I'll second that. My only one is Jim. I am still having issues with website permissions and cannot see the donations on the website. And when you give me access, I will update the CRM.
I intend to attend the next directors meeting in part to hammer out a lot of the stale items with yourself and your peers.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have your consent to give permissions when I'm able to, or am I supposed to reserve that to you?
I was pretty sure I already gave you the green light on that, but
Okay.
Yeah.
If I have access, then I can do it. Okay.
I was also going to ask Brianna, since you're there, would you have time for a one-on-one on WordPress to help me get my county page going?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Just shoot
Okay.
me a message.
Okay. I travel for a living, and because of Super Bowl, my schedule this week is really screwed up. But maybe after that, we can pull an evening while I'm in a hotel room somewhere, or we can try to coordinate that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, just let me know when, and I can be flexible.
So the only thing I will say is that I will be out of commission a few of the next upcoming weekends due to various things. I am flying to Georgia from the 11th through the 14th to watch the Super Bowl with my friend's family. We're all longtime Bengals fans, so we're gonna go watch the Super Bowl in Georgia with his parents. And then I will be out of town the weekend of March 5th at the Kentucky and possibly the Indiana convention, depending on if I'm able to get squeezed in both in the same weekend. And then I will also be gone March 13th at the Michigan convention, where I've been invited to come speak. So I will be gone quite a few of the next few weekends, and just for consideration for when we're scheduling our next meeting, and for if people need to reach me.
Dustin, when you say you're gone the 13th, which is a Sunday, does that mean you're available the 12th? Or
Possibly, I don't know. It depends on, I have not heard back yet what time of day they want me to speak. If I'm speaking later in the evening, I will probably just drive up that morning. If I am speaking, because they were talking about having me be very first, and if that's the case, I'm going to have to drive up Saturday night, because I do not feel like getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning to drive.
okay. Yeah, the weekend of the 5th is my birthday. I'd rather not have a meeting that weekend anyway.
Yeah, that whole weekend is out for me no matter what. That's 2 state conventions on the same weekend in my region here. Other board comments, concerns, questions?
I would like to talk about something once we get off stream and we're not official.
Okay. I will not close the meeting immediately then. So if there are no other public comments or concerns, that will
Is there
take us
any in
to
YouTube?
the public comment, which I was just going to say, I don't know. I'm not watching the stream on YouTube.
Let me check.
I would advise that the YouTube stats, give me 1 second, are currently showing 0.
Okay. Well, I would assume that there is none. And I know we had a guest in the office. I don't know
Did
if
you
we
have
addressed
anything
this
else?
concern.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's public comment.
yeah, just a couple of
If
things.
you come up here, they
Yeah,
can
sure.
see you on the camera.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, just we had a couple of things that as we were setting up our affiliate over the last several months, that it was a non-trivial task. I'm glad to hear discussion about setting up a division to support. One thing about that is that some of the non-trivial tasks are figuring out even what you need to know. And we've, our treasurer, who's right in the middle of a lot of this, because a lot of it was how do you set up a tax ID number and things like that. He's created a video on that, but one of the more important things I want to hand off to whoever winds up working to help affiliates stand up is we've got a 17-point list of things that people really need to know. We don't know necessarily have the answers to all those questions, but we want to make certain that that gets handed off to somebody who will find it useful. The only other thing I've got beyond that was really the talk about CRM, getting that same gentleman, our treasurer in Warren County, Phil Denton, involved. When you guys have that discussion on CRM, I think having him in there would be of great benefit. And then beyond that, you also addressed the volunteers that were brought up. The Mike Bruce and Owen Watkins, were they on the list that you were talking about, Drake?
Yep.
So really, you've covered everything else I wanted to address. But just glad to be here, and that's what I want to do. I'll make certain to hand that off at least to
I
you,
would appreciate
Helen, and that's all I've got.
it.
Thanks.
Especially the link to the video.
Oh yes, absolutely. We'll do.
Well, thank you so much for coming up to the.
That's
I have it spelled.
Like maraschino cherry.
yeah, it's just like maraschino without the eno.
We're on Discord together, so I knew.
Yes.
I just wasn't sure which Mark. There's a lot of you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. Appreciate your time. I know it's a little bit of a trek from, I think you said Warren County, so
Yes. Thanks. Happy to be here.
we're happy you're here. Thank you again.
And Jim, those 2 people I mentioned are 2 people that are interested in the IT director role. So that I will be sending you information for.
They're interested in helping IT, not the director role.
Yeah. That,
Or